Where are we?
Yeah, you don't need to do it yet, because it's 10:55. But that one first, make sure it goes red. Yeah. And then that one to speak. That one will be good. Thanks very much.
And welcome to the Ageas Bowl. Happy to report that we are starting on time on day 3 of this County Championship Division 1 match between Hampshire and Essex. There was a lot of overnight rain. There was a bit more rain this morning as well, but things are, well, I wouldn't say they look dry, but they certainly it's certainly not raining, and the drainage has done its job. Now the stumps aren't actually in the pitch, but I've just had it on good authority that we are starting on time, although it does look as though there doesn't seem to be a particular rush to start on time because the hover cover is still next to the pitch. It is a little dull. It's not raining, as I say. But the umpires, if we are starting on time, should appear at any moment from the first floor of the Rob Brownsgrove Pavilion at the far end of the ground, and then they'll make their way down the steps. I will keep an eye out as I talk to you. So the state of play as we head into day 3 is that Hampshire in their second innings are 122 for 6, and they lead Essex by just 73. Now, many people are thinking, well, that's not many to knock off. And but this is a low-scoring game. And I think, and Nick Gubbins, speaking to me last night, the Hampshire batter, who resumes this morning on 44 not out, thinks, and he will talk positively, bear that in mind, that maybe a lead of 120 could be an interesting game in the last innings of this match. So, with a lead of 73, a quick calculation suggests Hampshire would probably want at least another 50 from these last 4 wickets. And then we may just have a very good game. And the good news is that the hover cover is starting up, and simultaneously the umpires are walking down the steps. So we will get underway at 11 o'clock. Now, your commentary team today, and I probably need right up to the start of this game to name everybody, because we do have a large cast today. A little later you'll hear from Kevin Howes, BBC 5 Live, who are still here. We'll be on Sports Extra maybe throughout the day, just maybe. There are other things going on. I think somebody said an Ashes Test match is starting this morning, but that may just preoccupy 5 Live's minds. So Kevin Howes is still here. He will be on a bit later. Dave Allen, yes, remember him. He's still here around, and we've got him up in the commentary gantry. He'll be on a little later. Hampshire's historian and archivist. He used to be honorary, but he's dropped that. We also have, in a few minutes' time, Nick Gledhill from BBC Essex, replacing Paul Newton. And last but not least, from the Hampshire Disability Team, the England Disability Team. He lives in Basingstoke. He's very much local. Anthony Clapham. He was here on day 1 for his commentary debut, and he did so well we've invited him back for day 3. He's also here. Fortunately, the gantry is a very big place, so it's large enough to accommodate us all, and we will bring you the very best of the action today. Good chance this will finish today if the weather stays fine. I don't think it's going to get any worse than this. It is a little dull, yes, there is full cloud cover, but as far as my weather app shows, that we will not get any rain, so we should be all right. We lost the whole of the evening session yesterday, so we will be playing slightly extended sessions, starting with the morning session here, which will go through until 1:10 So as I speak, the Essex team take to the field at the far end of the ground. Nick Gubbins, as I mentioned, will resume on 44 not out. James Fuller, who's with him, will resume on 19 not out. And I've just seen the 2 batters there just fist pump each other. It is a big, as all sessions are as you get through the 4 days, this is a big morning session for both sides. If Hampshire can bat well, then they will put pressure on this Essex side. Essex, of course, will want to get amongst the wickets early, and they will fancy their chances. I think even 120 lead, they'll fancy their chances. But from what we've seen in this game so far, 120 will be a little tricky. This wicket has helped the seam bowlers, especially with the new ball. It's been very tricky for everyone. Just to remind you the way the game has gone so far. Hampshire were all out for 120, Essex all out 169, and as I say, Hampshire in a moment will resume on 122 for 6, a lead of 73. Nick Gubbins has worked very hard for his 44 not out. That is the highest score of the game, so that will give you an indication of just how tricky things have been so far. So the looks like it's going to be Sam Cook who's going to open the bowling from this commentary end. And it's going to be James Fuller who will face the first delivery of the morning. So Sam Cook, here he goes then, right arm over, 2 slips. First ball of day 3, comes in and bowls. Fuller just gets a length ball, just eases that out into the covers. And there is no run. Slightly less people in the stadium this morning, may just reflect the fact that it's a bit nippy, relatively, at this time of year. It's a bit chilly. But also probably a lot of people arriving thinking, well, it's not going to be a full day today. I would guess that we'll be done by tea time if this game goes the way we think it is, one way or another, but you just never know. Maybe a few other people have thought, well, yeah, we've done the first 2 days. That's nipped back wickedly at Fuller. And Nick Gubbins, as he did so well yesterday, has a good eye for a single and calls Fuller through. That nip back, that was a wicked nip back, and we've seen quite a few of those in this game. So plenty of ways to watch and listen. BBC Sport website and app, and also on the live picture feed via the Hampshire Cricket website, and also you can watch it on the Hampshire Cricket app, which is free to download. And those pictures will be going back to the Essex Cricket website as well. Here's Cook, he's round the wicket, down the leg side. Gubbins trying to flick that away. Quickly across is Adam Rossington. Scoreboard showing 123 for 6, so 1 run added this morning. That lead has inched up to 74. Nick Gubbins speaking to me last night. I might have mentioned earlier that you can see that interview on the Hampshire Cricket website and app, and also an excerpt on our Twitter feed at Solent Sport, just saying he thinks 120 odd will actually be challenging. That's pushed out square on the offside by Gubbins. Still a crazy paving look to the wicket. Still that sort of light brown, sort of wavy lines running through slightly darker patches of green, although it's not so pronounced as it was on day 1. But even then it wasn't standout, but it's enough. Even from our distance we can see it, and you can probably see those on the picture feeds as well. And I guess it just depends on where the ball lands, just how it behaves. As Gubbins is forward, low down on that one. He's bent down on one knee, coming well forward, just showing everybody how straight he's played that one. And welcome for the first time this morning to BBC Radio Essex's Nick Gledhill. Nick, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Kevin. Certainly a weather contrast to when I was last here, when I had a very hot journey on a Friday afternoon to get here for the T20. It's very different this morning.
It certainly is. It's like we're in the winter compared to that. As pushing forward there is Gubbins. First over done this morning. Hampshire have added 1 to their overnight total, although it's a maiden over to Sam Cook, because it was a leg by. Hampshire lead by 74.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Just done an update for our BBC Essex listeners, and was just thinking that if Hampshire can get the highest score of the match by scoring another 50 odd runs, just under that actually, to get the highest score, that would basically leave Essex needing to better the Hampshire first innings of the game. It's been interesting to see if the pitch does start to play any easier, but there's been no real sign of it so far. But all Hampshire can do is hope that this partnership can continue, having laid a firm base yesterday of 32 runs. And if they can do that, then it might just start to bring the home side's realistic chances of winning the game back into the spotlight. But Jamie Porter will have something to say about that with 8 wickets in the game. He's had an absolutely fantastic match here, continuing a very good season, 3 for 42 so far as he comes in from the pavilion end and bowls, and that's driven by Fuller up towards mid-on. And Fuller, of course, I suspect that he's going to sort of try and play a fairly conservative style with Gubbins, but if Gubbins were to get out, Kevin, I imagine that Fuller might change gears.
Yes, although I hope he doesn't play the sort of shot that he played in the first innings.
Yes, has to be controlled.
Yes, a little bit more controlled of that. Yeah, interesting you mentioned about the partnerships. 34 for the 5th is the highest so far between Vince and Gubbins. This one worth 33.
2 slips and 5 saving 1. Cook and Harmer the slips, and that's a nice orthodox defensive shot from Fuller. Nothing too much to worry about with that ball, just back of a length, came forward and playing it defensively up towards mid-off, and there is no run. So Essex have been dominant really throughout the game. 49 run first innings lead, they'd be fairly happy with on this pitch. I think at one point they might have been hoping for a little bit more, but critically they then got early Hampshire second innings wickets yesterday, and of course we lost the final session to rain. We could have lost a lot more play in this game really, but starting on time today. Here's a good delivery, and has that been feathered through? It's a peel, and it's been given out. It was a sort of tentative push by Fuller to a delivery, just swinging away, and taken by Rossington, who appealed. There was a momentary delay and then given out by the umpire. Fuller didn't walk, and that's a real blow first up, has to be said, for Hampshire. They were hoping that these two were going to continue their partnership, but there was a little bit of delay there, the two umpires having a chat, but in the opinion there had been a feather through, and Fuller has gone. So it's Fuller out for 19 with Gubbins 44 and 123 for 7, just the 1 run added this morning and an early wicket.
Another example of just the odd ball that just bounces, just lifts on off stump, and we've seen that regularly in this game. Every probably, I don't know, 1 and over, 1 every 2 overs from that far end, just does a little bit extra. It's interesting actually, because Fuller just banged the ground with the bat. He didn't want to look at the umpire, did he?
No, I mean, just moved away from him, so a bit of extra bounce and got the edge. So just what Hampshire didn't want at the start of today's proceedings. An early wicket going down, and I suppose this game could be well done and dusted within the session, of course, if this innings were to be wrapped up quickly, but Hampshire will be looking to try and obviously prolong it a lot further than that. Porter's best bowling in a match, incidentally, 12 for 95, so he had 8 wickets going into today, so if he were to take all 4, then he could be potentially equaling that 12, but he's had a very good season after a couple of fairly lean ones, Kevin, and it's really been quite important for Essex that sort of, like Porter and Cook, if you like, have been matching each other blow for blow in terms of their effectiveness, and it's helped, one of the factors to turn Essex into, well, challengers for the championship. If anyone can potentially overtake Surrey, they've shown that they've got the capability in the last few weeks of perhaps doing so. Yeah,
I thought, and also the break actually at tea time has helped Porter and Cook as well.
Yeah,
because they were worked hard yesterday afternoon, and this break overnight and yesterday evening, I think, will have helped them come out fresh this morning.
So it's going to be Carl Abbott with 2 slips waiting as Porter bowls to him, and that's another bit of lift on that delivery. Just a good length ball, but it got some lift, and Abbott was happy to leave it alone as it was going safely over the stumps, but he's gone to prod the pitch, having seen that delivery, and certainly plenty in it still for the bowlers here at the Ageas Bowl, where Porter certainly enjoying what he's found in the surface in the last couple of days. Here's Porter again, bowls. That's just pushed defensively, or attempted to play it defensively back down the pitch by Abbott. He's got a bit of bat onto it, but a rather tentative looking shot. Yes, Porter sort of regaining that form he had a few years ago after a couple of quieter seasons by his standards, and it really has helped Essex in terms of Porter and Cook, if you like, co-leading the attack. plenty of other bowling options there, of course, now with Walter in the side, although of course Snater getting injured in this game. Here comes Porter again up to the wicket, bowls, and that's just cutting into the right-handed Abbott. There's a stifle chart for LBW as it rolls down towards Harmer at second slip, but again looking very effective. Good bowling conditions once again, heavy overcast conditions, and Porter, having had that rest in the final session yesterday, has struck at the first time of asking and got a valuable wicket of Fuller, who's potentially, as I say, mentioning, could be dangerous if Hampshire were to choose to try and counter-attack their way out of trouble. As it is, I suspect it'll be more of the grind now, with Gubbins 44 and Abbott no score, 123 for 7, leading by 74 with the 1 run added.
Got an email here from Peter Chapman, soloncricket@gmail.com. He says, the live stream doesn't appear to be working. Peter, well, I can see the pictures here. They're right in front of me. In fact, they're right there. Live picture feed. So you might have to reboot, Peter, on that one. Here's Sam Cook from our commentary end, round the wicket to Nick Gubbins. He's got an awful lot of work to do, and even more. That's 2 bounces through to Rossington, that one, as he doesn't offer a shot. Again, example of the slightly unpredictable nature of this pitch.
Forecast today is okay, and it's almost as if, obviously they wanted a result pitch for this game, but it could have been one that maybe was a slightly fairer balance between bat and ball, given it looks like we're going to have more playing time available than might have been envisaged a couple of days out from the start of the game.
It's not great out there, is it? We're almost at the rain situation. That's flicked away by Gubbins. There is a man out there at a deep square leg. Gubbins moves on to 45. He's off his overnight total. And Hampshire lead by 75 now. But yeah, it's very gloomy. I'm surprised the lights aren't on. We must be very close to that situation. And it will be Abbott to face the next delivery.
Yeah, so good to see Porter, back close to his best. We've talked of in England terms. Of course, the man who's bowling at the moment, heard him being discussed on the radio last night, driving down.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, on BBC Essex, they said, oh, it's a great catch, second slip. Oh, yes, is that Harmer?
Yeah.
Diving low to his right, hands outstretched, and it's stuck into his right hand. And this is a really, really bad start from Hampshire. And they've lost their second wicket already, and it is 124 for 8.
Yeah, Cook and Porter a real handful in these conditions, and it looks like the rest has done them good. But that was a fantastic catch, just low to his right from Harmer, making it look very easy indeed. And so Essex have been on this fantastic run, particularly at Chelmsford in recent times. They've got back into the habit of winning and winning big there, and actually scoring some good runs as well, which hadn't always been the case in recent seasons. And I'll be very, very pleased with the way that this morning has started, because it was a day that could potentially have gone either way. But now, even though Gubbins is still there, he's obviously in danger of running out of partners, and with a lead of just 75 with the 2 runs added this morning, the runs and the wickets matching each other. Something incredibly remarkable has got to happen, you would have thought. I mean, the first thing they've got to do is set them more than 100, I guess. But it's a big ask from here.
I agree. Yeah, it's not a great start. 2 wickets in 12 minutes, and there's a lot of work for John Turner to do. And at some point, Mohammed Abbas, you would think at the moment we won't be waiting too long for the arrival of Mohammed Abbas, but somewhere along the line Hampshire do have to eke out a few runs and at least try and put a little bit of pressure on. No doubt they are good bowling conditions. They've been pretty good bowling conditions for most of this game anyway, even when the sun's been out, but more so with the gloomy conditions. And well, you just never know. When you're in front, you always have a chance, and while you're still playing, you still have a chance.
Yeah.
But you have to say the odds have swung a little more in Essex's favour with the play that we've had this morning. So John Turner, right-hander, extra slip has been put in for him. Sam Cook looks for his 3rd wicket. He has 2 for 40, and he is in his 16th over and comes in over the wicket once more to Turner. Turner pushes forward. It's gone up towards, trickles up towards mid-off, where Paul Walter-Fields, he's bowled quite well in this game, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, this is, for me, the big difference for for Essex, Walter coming into the side, top 6 batsmen who can play as four-seamer. They rightly went for the strategy of playing four-seamers away from home in particular. You could argue one way or another whether it was needed at Chelmsford, but certainly away from home it was the right thing to do. The problem was it unbalanced the side until Walter came back.
Here's Cook outside the off stump, and Turner found the gap in front of square. There'll be at least 2. Every run valuable from a Hampshire point of view. It's almost gone all the way to the boundary, but he's picked up. Gubbins comes back for the 3rd, and Hampshire move on to 127 for 8, and the lead now is 78.
Yeah, so 46 for Porter and 40 for Cook, the latest figures I've got. Yeah, very, very impressive seasons, just showing with Harmer 45, they're all sort of matching each other, and of course those 3 are potent enough, but Essex have had some useful support. Sort of Bracewell has bowled well at times, and obviously Snater's not quite been at his best this season with the ball, but it hasn't mattered so much with the other seamers doing so well.
Yes, a good opening pair for Hampshire, for Essex. Just waiting for Adam Rossington to put the helmet on and stand up, which he's been a bit of a feature. Rossington standing up to Sam Cook.
So let's see how that goes with a slip in a gully now, as this is a pull shot and it's not timed. It goes out towards square leg, just in front of square in actual fact. And 127 for 8. Has to be said that it's an awful long way back from here for Hampshire. A bit of a disastrous start, exactly after that good partnership yesterday. Exactly what they did not want. 5 runs added, 2 more wickets have gone down, so lead just 78, but can they at least make Essex get more than 100? I'm just thinking about a game at Taunton at the start of last year where I think Essex were chasing 80 odd and finished 82 for 9. Right at the start of last season on a very difficult pitch. So maybe we'll get something like that.
What a game. Is this me? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's
carry on.
Porter from the pavilion end, and he's bowling to Turner, who's playing and missing outside the off stump. There was a quarter of a shout from Porter. He's getting a little too excited, the young man. I say young, but he's 30. But young enough. He's certainly younger than me, just.
Cook was being discussed on the preview programme for the Ashes regarding the next tour of Australia, which is still 2 years away. Obviously, the thing that's counted against him is his relative lack of pace, but they were talking about how it's like a holding accurate seamer who can bowl line and length and keep it fairly quiet. Could be a very useful complementary bowler to the faster guys. Yep. And that's what they were talking about last night.
Here comes Porter and bowls. Turner gets a straighter ball, which he works up to mid on. I have to say, if I had to pick between the two, it would always be Porter for me.
Yeah, Porter now back at his best. You know, it's great to see, because Cook has been leading the way in the last few years, but having both of them firing at the same time, and obviously there've been other differences for Essex this season. Obviously the vastly improved form of Matt Critchley has been important, and of course Tom Wesley has been scoring runs for fun.
He certainly has. Strong side Essex as Turner gets it inside edge past the diving Rossington. That went very quickly indeed. I have to say, initially I thought Rossington might just get there, but that's 4 valuable runs. Another decent delivery from Porter. Turner just pushing at that one, and that hasn't beaten the leg stump by very much, and that is a boundary which takes Hampshire on to 131 for 8, and the lead now 82.
Yes, Porter's not going to quite match what he did in 2017 with 75 wickets at 16.83. Well, he's going to have to really go some to match that, as Essex won the championship that year, having just been promoted.
Can somebody tell me why the lights aren't on? It does look gloomy out there as Porter comes in. Turner gets caught at second slip, and Harmer takes one. Goes quickly to his chest, grabs it with both hands, and that's the 3rd wicket of the morning. Turner goes for 7. Porter picks up his 2nd wicket of the morning, and that is a 10-wicket bag for Jamie Porter. And Hampshire find themselves at 131 for 9. Yeah,
it's the 3rd time he's done it. He's had an 11 and a 12, so he can't replicate the 12 for 95, but it's in an outstanding performance from him. Yeah, helpful conditions, but you've got to obviously put it in the right place, and these two have been very difficult to play this morning. And poor Nick Gubbins, all that hard work yesterday, and he's now got Mohammed Abbas as his partner. So clearly he's going to have to hope for the best in terms of farming the strike. How many balls has Abbas got left in this over? He's got 2, hasn't he? So he may not see another delivery, sadly, but you never know. But yeah, it was always potential that this day could go like this, and it's almost as if that rain break for Essex was no bad thing, because they would have had to have gone for change bowlers and buried who was going to be bowling during the final session, and it seems to have played into their hands very nicely indeed.
Certainly has, yes. A fresh Jamie Porter and a fresh Sam Cook, putting Hampshire to the sword once more. That is an awful long way back. It's a long walk back from the wicket to the boundary's edge anyway, but with the white sheeting in front of the Hampshire dressing room, it means that they've got to go up the steps and walk along probably 3/4 of the length of the pavilion and then up some more steps. So there is a long way to walk back after getting your dismissal, long way to ponder that dismissal, but equally so, a long way for the batters to walk in and think about how their innings might unfold. And Mohammed Abbas in the first innings did entertain us, because his very first ball that he received from Simon Harmer, out came the reverse sweep, and it was a shot that we've never seen Mohammed Abbas play, and he executed it perfectly. Now, I'm not sure he's going to reverse sweep Jamie Porter, but even so, he can be very unpredictable, Mohammed Abbas. One thing that is probably a constant is that he averages 6, so he probably won't be hanging around for too long. But I'm hoping, and I've got my positive hat on here, I'm hoping that actually the ball is probably doing slightly too much. So when he tries to play a defensive shot, the ball goes past the outside edge because he's just doing too much. So it might be actually difficult, more difficult to get Abbas out in these conditions than normal. We will wait and see. A man on the drive. Short cover as Porter comes into Abbas. Abbas does get a bat on that one as he pushes that out quietly on the offside. Score remains on 131 for 9.
So Hampshire have overtaken what they got in the first innings, but I guess a lead of 49 always looked pretty useful in these conditions, and could prove to be a very important factor. Because if you take that away, and you still think, well, Essex probably, it's 3 innings of this sort of score, no reason why you wouldn't have a side struggling a 4th time. But at the moment, still fairly comfortable what they require. Just a lead of 82 at the moment.
Oh, Abbas has just pulled out of his stance. I think there was some chatter in the slips there. What was that game you mentioned? 82 for 9?
Yeah, it was. I'll look it up. It's the Somerset Essex game from I think the start of last season.
Wow. Here's Porter then, last ball of this over, and Abbas is walking into that one and just prods forward. That's gone out on the leg side. End of the over, 131 for 9. Nick Gledhill will stay on, and then for 5 live, it'll be Kevin House.
Yeah, see if I can find that one from last year. But it all ended up dramatically on the final morning, and on a difficult Taunton surface, and what looked like a pretty straightforward ask from an Essex point of view turned out to be anything but, as Craig Overton absolutely gave it his all. But in the end, it wasn't quite enough. Yeah, it's a very early season game actually, in the middle of April last year. 84 for 9, Essex's winning score when they won by 1 wicket at Taunton on that game. Hello, Kevin.
Sometimes you find some crazy cricket, don't you?
Yes.
Absolutely crazy cricket. And you sometimes find yourself feeling a little bit guilty about enjoying games like that, because they're not really that good for cricket in some ways.
Now here comes Cook going round the wicket and bowls to Gubbins. Oh, he's bowled. Well, but what a disaster for Hampshire this morning. I can understand Gubbins deciding he had to try to play some shots, but Cook and Porter have just been too good this morning. It was probably a fairly untypical Gubbins shot. He was playing the drive, trying to play it through mid-on uppishly, but played round it, just a little bit of movement, and it's knocked over middle and leg. So he's been bowled for 45, and Porter 5 for 46, and Cook, I think they're 3 for 43, 131 all out. So it has to be said that did not go according to plan from Hampshire's point of view this morning, Kevin.
No, but it went according to plan, according to JMO's commentary rota, that's for certain, because I've only just got on and it's all finished. And I wanted to expand on Confucius here with his proverb of,
You know, whilst in front, you've always got a chance. I feel I can take that into my everyday life and think that. But it's not looking particularly good. I did not expect, even though this has been obviously a low-scoring game, necessarily for that to happen the way that it has this morning. But, you know, the big picture, looking at it, you know, and one of the reasons I came down here, Nick, was for this title race. You know, Surrey tripped up a couple of weeks ago against Lancashire, just opened the door a little bit there, whilst Essex
made it interesting for the rest of it.
Essex have got some momentum going. Could Hampshire stop that Essex momentum? You know, because Hampshire have been there and thereabouts. They were pretty much up there with Lancashire, pre-season favourites possibly for the title at the start of the season. The game is not over.
No.
And you know, all joking aside about what Coven has said, you know, they've still got to get these runs, and let's wait and see. Conditions are far from ideal. For a moment, actually, I thought there was just a little bit of drizzle in the air just a few moments ago as well. So this is not perhaps going to be, as you've already illustrated by previous games, as straightforward as can be. But what we have seen for certain is that Essex very much are contenders, and this bowling attack, which is and the whole team, we briefly touched on it yesterday, this whole team, although not always firing every season since 2017, are pretty much unchanged, and they are strong, they are talented, they're skillful, and for me, one of the most competitive teams. But by that, I don't know if you recall, I think it was maybe 2018, I'm going back a little while here. It's a strange thing maybe to raise at this stage about Essex, but they'd missed out on the title. Surrey were going to go on and win the title. Probably had won the title. It was a game at the Oval, and Essex ended up winning it. That actually spoiled that season for Surrey, because it was the only time they'd been defeated. I thought I saw in that group of players, that match a few years ago, mind you, the sort of attitude that was going to stand coach Anthony McGrath and the players and the club in good stead for the years to come. I'm not too sure whether Sir Alistair had actually retired from international cricket at that stage, so he can add him to that group of players as well. And I think with evidence again of what a tight, competitive, hard-working bunch of cricketers Essex are. However, they've still got to win the game from here.
They have, and what a performance from Jamie Porter. So that's his third 10 for in his career, and 5 for 37 in the first innings, and he's followed that up with 5 for 46. Sam Cook 3 for 43 in the final analysis there. So those two are very much dominant in that Hampshire second innings, with Walter 1 for 9 in 5 overs, Harmer 1 for 27 and 10. It didn't matter that Shane Snater was injured early in the game, because they've only really needed 3 seamers on this pitch. And Gubbins 45 from 123 balls, before I think he was almost forced into playing a more expansive shot when he would have wanted to, with Abbas at the other end.
Yeah, exactly. You could maybe argue that they could do with another couple of Gubbins in this lineup here.
That's that. Looking at Hampshire, that's the one. Even with that tremendous win against Nottinghamshire from nowhere up at the end of the first day, to win that game as comfortably as they did, they still weren't getting runs in the top order, were they, in either innings? And that's been a problem for them.
And it's for those that watch more regularly, I guess, to talk about them. But you know, there must be some deeply held frustration, because whilst I've just been extolling the virtues of Essex, and what I see is some of their great strengths of character as well as the cricketing skills, Hampshire were one of those that people thought would do well this season for a reason. It's because they too have got that bowling attack. We talked a lot about their bowling attack at the start. It hasn't quite fired in the way that maybe Essex hasn't always over the last couple of seasons. So yeah, I mean, and that's why you, in this situation, even though it's just such a small target, you can't write Hampshire off because of the fact they are a talented bunch, and they're not going to be fighting relegation like some of the others clearly are.
If Middlesex went to there, it could get very interesting down the bottom, couldn't it?
We're not talking about disaster. I think we are talking about deeply held frustrations here, that just not quite able within the 4-day game to go on and do what I think, as individuals, they probably more than have the capability of doing. I mean, if you take a look at the title race and some of the matches going on, Surrey actually being frustrated by the weather again. Rain delay there. Warwickshire with the game in hand.
Yes.
And Surrey still to play. Now that has been extraordinary, as everyone will tell you. 22 wickets on the first day. Only 2 wickets fell yesterday, even though that band of rain, which was quite unusual in itself, because it virtually took all matches out at the same time as it came across
Tea
the
time,
country.
about 4 o'clock yesterday.
Yeah, about 4 o'clock yesterday, apart from the game up at Scarborough.
Yes.
But only 2 wickets fell in the 2 sessions of cricket yesterday in Birmingham. And today, still no further loss of wickets. 197 for 4. So they've only had another 8 runs in the half an hour.
It could be that Toby Rowland-Jones controversy could yet be important, because I remember Yorkshire won a game at Chelmsford in 2018, having been knocked over for 50 in the first innings. Can Warwickshire do the same?
Do you want to explain what that controversy is?
Well, that was the one where Rowland-Jones hit the sixth.
First innings.
Yes,
first
that's
innings
right.
match, yeah.
And having completed the shot, having seen the bit of video evidence, he sort of swung his bat back almost without thinking and clipped the bails and was given out, and the argument was, had he completed the shot and had everything been completed, but it was deemed to be part of the act of playing the shot, and he was the 6 was rescinded and he was given out, was my understanding.
Yes. It was quite an expansive swing of the arm,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I saw the video in slow motion, but I don't think I did. I think it was a real slow, and look, I don't know how to put it, because I think the word sloppy is probably a little bit strong.
Yes.
However, I can see how people might use it. It was, he just lost his thinking, really. And both he and the keeper, it would be Burgess, wouldn't it? They're standing there almost in disbelief. Have you just done what I think you've just done?
Yes.
So yeah, as you say, it had some controversy to it. Some people thinking that as you say, everything had been completed in terms of the shot and the 6 given and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, Hayne, by the way, is out now for 69 there, so that's 5 down for Warwickshire. So they're 58, in effect 58 for 5.
Yes, they've got that game in hand, but of course they lost in what looked a very big game to Essex in Chelmsford at the back end of June. And
frustrated last week of the weather against Lancashire, although Lancashire looked to be in a good position there. They really did Warwickshire, with the game in hand over those teams above them and around them, to make sure that when they got to Surrey at the start of September, that a win, and they needed a win against Surrey, that they'd actually counted for something with the game in hand.
Yeah.
If they mess up here against Middlesex, that could almost be immaterial, and we could almost come the end of today, Nick, be looking at a situation where we're talking pretty much, if not mathematically, 2-horse race for the title.
And Essex have got they've got a fairly favourable run in September with 2 home games and Northampton.
I think everybody is saying Essex have got a very favourable run in, apart from obviously those teams they're playing. Apart from Hampshire is again.
Yeah.
No matter
the game last year at Chelmsford was one of the most bizarre games you'll ever see. Hampshire, I think, lost by 12 runs in the end.
Whereas Surrey have got a tough run in. They've got a tough run. I mean, they finish here, don't they? Sorry, last match is against Hampshire here, so they might find it tough. Nick, I think you're taking...
Yeah, Essex with what looks to be a fairly straightforward assignment, but you never know. Hampshire 131 all out. Essex will require 83 to win. I'm going to hand over to Anthony Clapham from Hampshire Disability Cricket in just a moment.
Thank you very much. 5 for 46 then, Porter. 3 for 43 for Cook, and Hampshire all out for 131. Those wickets falling in quick time this morning on day 3, although we lost a fair amount of cricket yesterday at around about 4 o'clock on, and I have to say, and there's evidence of it even now, if you take a look at the concourse around this really fine ground here at the Ageas Bowl, over to the left hand side there are still some big puddles out there, which gives you an idea, an indication of the fact that rain, which started falling yesterday about 4 o'clock, 4:15, it got heavier and heavier as the evening went on. Certainly 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock last night, it was still pretty much bouncing. So I'm going to say it's great that we got the game started on time this morning. I'm not too sure if those of Basingstoke and surrounding area, like yourself, are thinking maybe it would be better if they'd held on a little bit longer for a start here today. But Anthony, good morning to you. Lovely to have you back aside today in the commentary box. You've been watching the first 20-25 minutes this morning. What are your thoughts?
Wow, unbelievable start from Essex. It went exactly how they would have hoped it would have. I had a brief look at the pitch. I went onto the outfield before the day's play, and it was a bit damp, but the grounds people have done an amazing job to get us to start on time. The wicket itself still really, really dry. Considering the amount of rain we've had, it's a bit surprising actually. So as Mohamed Abbas comes in now to start the Essex innings. Into Brown, who flicks it off his pad down to fine leg and gets off the mark first ball. I think really keen to get some early wickets here. It's if Hampshire would have posted, 170, 180 to give themselves 120, 130 to defend, I think we could have been in for a really interesting day today. But I think only 83, they're going to need some early wickets, aren't they?
I don't think putting pressure on by making it difficult to score runs is really going to work in this scenario, do you? It's going to require wickets, quick
Absolutely.
wickets.
As the bass now comes into Alistair Cook. Pitch outside off, and Cook drives through to cover. Comes back for a second run, picked up by Dawson there. A bit slow, a bit hesitant there from the Essex batsman to come back for the second, but I think from the off there, I think it was a comfortable 2 from Alistair Cook. But I think definitely Abbas, what he'll be trying to do is get the Essex batsman driving. They have 2 slips, or 3 slips, sorry, a point, a cover. I'm surprised there isn't a gully, but I guess on a slow pitch. Abbas into Alistair Cook again, hits the crease. Bit of swing, down leg, good take from Ben Brown.
Saw some terrific fielding, great slip catch today, but we saw just top-notch bowling, didn't we, as well?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And it's one thing I do have to show some concern over is the Hampshire batters. When they're out, their frustration, they keep on hammering, punching the back of their bats in frustration. I'm thinking, take care there. But you could see the deep annoyance they felt this morning.
Slow walks off as well, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely.
As the bass comes in now to Alistair Cook, swings in and just nips away, which is good signs for Hampshire, but a bit too wide to challenge Alistair Cook's outside edge.
Well, you say slow walks, and you're right. However, some of them are so cross and annoyed with themselves, they have to run up those steps, and they have to go the long way round to the dressing room here at the moment because of where the side screen is.
Yeah.
And the reason they run is because they've got things they need to get off their chest, and they know they can't really do that until they're in the dressing room.
Absolutely, yeah.
So some of them actually have run off, sprinted off for that reason.
Most of the members are at the pavilion end today under cover. As the bass now into Alistair Cook again, gets him to play in off the back foot. Lovely shot there by Alistair Cook, just back foot punch through the offside, and Dawson slips, and I think it's a sign of all the wet weather last night as they come back for 2, but really should have kept it in for a single. But you're right, I think if I was back, I know for myself, if I get out and I get cross on myself, I'm similar to how the Hampshire batsmen reacted, but we don't have many people watching us, so we can let out steam. Exactly, yeah. As Abbas comes in now to close out Hampshire's first over, and that's just flicked off Alistair Cook's legs into mid-wicket.
Yeah, it's on a mission impossible. You'd think here. I mean that Essex game at Somerset that Nick was talking about, Nick Gledhill from BBC Essex. I mean that had a different feel, different narrative to it all the way through. You surprisingly, I mean, I wasn't there. I was actually, I know exactly where I was. I was at Bristol. I was presenting the programme from Bristol that week. But there was always a feeling, even at a distance, that something like that could happen. Now, I may well be proven wrong here. I don't get, even with the conditions as they are, I don't get the feeling here that it's going to end as tightly as that. That's not to say that maybe 1 or 2 wickets might be taken. Yeah. But I don't have that same feel as I did, even at a distance. That Taunton pitch was a different story last year. Carl Abbott comes around the wicket then into Brown, and Brown forward to that, finds the gap in between slip and backward point, runs down towards the boundary. As we've said, it's going to be a little bit difficult to race away to the boundary, so it won't be 4, it'll just be a couple. I think both Brown and Cook, as things stand, are going to have to work those legs quite hard, but on the grounds they only need another 76 to win. I think they're both more than capable. That
would add to the frustration as well, finding the outside edge, going past the slip fielders there. A bit frustrating, but you never know. A couple of early wickets.
Coming into Brown, left-handed Brown on 3. Around the wicket he goes. It's worked away on the onside this time, just turned around for a single by Brown. He'll move on to 4, so both the openers on 4 not out, and Essex move to 8 for no wicket. So a reminder, Hampshire losing the last 4 wickets this morning, bowled out for 131. Just 11 more runs they got in the first innings when they were out for 120. And again, Jamie Porter doing a terrific job.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Well, he's certainly one of the, stating the obvious, but one of the key reasons that Essex maintain that real threat to other teams within this competition as Abbott is in and bowls up high on the pads of Cook, jumps a little bit as the South African Abbott turns, makes his way back to his mark, hunched shoulders slightly, pondering in his mind. I guess in these situations, not only are they thinking about Confucius here with the whilst you're ahead you've always got a chance, but you're also thinking about those match situations where something remarkable has happened, that things have turned around.
You just never know, do you? Never know.
No, we think we do, but the reason we're here is because we don't.
Absolutely.
As Abbott again comes around the wicket, in and bowls again. Oh, an edge through to the keeper. Wow. Yes, he's gone. Caught by the keeper. Cook has gone. He's gone for 4. And that is Essex for 1. Well, so a breakthrough, early breakthrough. We said early wickets need to be taken.
Great
start. That's exactly what's happened here. And it's a big, massive wicket, of course, in Sir Alistair Cook, caught by Brown off the bowling of Abbott. Faced 7 balls out there for just 6 minutes. But more importantly, the most important bit on that scorecard is it's a wicket down. And Carl Abbott, if he was walking back to his mark thinking, now, how is it that I get a former England captain and batter out, one of the leading batters in the world, the history of the game?
Yep.
They'll be thinking, oh, that's how I do it. And that's how he did it.
Yeah, just look at the replay now as well. Let's have a look. Very wide.
Just driving at it, gets an edge through to the keeper. So, first breakthrough, but more needed. More needed here. How many have we got left of this over? It's 2 to come. So, just the 4th ball of the 2nd over. And Essex have lost Sir Alistair Cook.
Kevin, just to add on that is, just sorry, I know you're going to mention Wesley's coming in. I think when you are chasing a small total, you almost feel bat on ball, try and rotate the strike early. That ball, Alistair Cook wasn't playing at those balls in the first innings.
Left it.
He should have left it, yeah. But like I said, small total, you're thinking, if we get a bit of bat on this, we can get this done by lunchtime. There's a golf course next door. Can we get a few holes in?
No. Really?
I think so.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised. There'll be a few keen golfers out there, I think. Thinking,
well, not denying that, but I don't know. So Alistair Cook, he's been playing a long time here.
No, I think
he's capable of making mistakes, and that was perhaps one of them. I don't think they'll be eyeing the golf course here. There's a championship title at stake.
Let's review this in about 30-40 minutes time. But no, it's a great start from Hampshire. They'll be happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Carl Abbott's thinking that.
Yeah.
He's thinking the quickest way for me to get to the golf course is by taking the wickets.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I can take the wickets more quickly than they can get the runs. 8 for 1. And it's Wesley facing in. Another good delivery. Well, that's right in the bullseye. And that's not 25, that's 50 straight away.
No, let's have a look at it. Oh, that's not good to see.
Well, you say that, but you've had a good look at it again, and I'm not going to even look. Well,
it's that delayed. It's the delayed feeling as well. Wesley's down, gloves are off. Physio's in around. No physio anywhere to be seen.
Well, what's the physio going to do?
Well, there's a magic spray, isn't there?
No, there isn't a magic spray. I understand it's all about counting to 10. That's what I understand. He's just checking. He's just checking. It's James Vince is going to go along and check as well, which is very kind of the captain. So this is the time when I will move aside with a score at 8 for 1. Essex here. Wicket taken of Cook. And whilst we see Wesley trying to recover, and himself, not count to 10, but maybe count to 2. That's all he needs to count to at the moment. Anthony, more from you. And then David Allen will be coming in.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, it was an exciting morning so far. We saw Hampshire innings only last 16. Well, I think that from the first wicket, full of 16 balls to for Essex to complete the Hampshire innings, which was disappointing. However, you just never know in cricket. Kyle Abbott's at the top of his run-up, and Wesley now fresh from the first ball into the bullseye. Abbott comes in and bowls outside, shoulders and leaves, and that brings the score 8 for 1. Hi, David.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, I could be more cheerful, but I'm okay.
We had a lovely chat this morning about everything you're doing for the club. Have you been here all week this week so far?
Yes, I have. Yeah, day one, I was up there in the posh bit, which was the members' lunch and the launch of the brand new book about Rod Bransgrove, and also the day that Rod addressed the members and said that he was going to stand down as cricket. It's important to say that he's standing down as cricket chairman. He's got other roles here in terms of the ground and so on, but as cricket chairman, standing down at the end of the year. So it's been quite a momentous week so far. Is this me?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Mohammed Abbas from our end, the hotel end, coming in and bowled around the wicket. And
Good
that's
shot.
Played very nicely through the covers for 4 runs. I'm sorry to say.
Wow, that was pretty convincing, that.
Yeah. I've been looking up the records, and the lowest score Essex have ever made against Hampshire is 69 all out. And if they do that today, then we shall win. But you probably, if you don't know who I am, you'll be picking up the fact that I'm a Hampshire man. But I have
How
to
long
say
ago was that?
So far, it seems to me that Essex have been in the driving seat, and they deserve the result, really. But 69 all out, and a man called A.E.G. Baring took 9 for 26 Abbas Bowl, so that's a less confident shot just outside the off stump, so pushes it down and it trickles away to second slip. 1931 that was, and it was at Colchester, I think. And A.E.G. Baring was an amateur fast bowler, very useful amateur fast bowler, who once for Hampshire against the Australians dismissed Don Bradman for a duck, but had a road crash of some sort, dislocated knees, and was never fit after that, really, although he did go on playing. Abbas in, round the wicket, bowls.
Oh, good shot.
Same shot. Not quite Groundhog Day, because there was one in between, but again more through extra cover than cover, and out to the boundary for 4. So Nick Brown has decided he's going to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 fantastic cover drives there. Convincing. Neither fielders decided to move for that. That was 4 right off the bat there. Bit deflating to see as a Hampshire bowler, but I guess they're doing everything they can. They're going to get the batsman to play as many balls as possible.
Sure, yeah. Maybe the Essex batters have decided that this is the way to play it. It's a bit Bazball, really. Abbas bowls well. He plays the same, attempts to play the same shot again, and this time makes no connection with it, and it goes through the keeper. So that's the dangerous side of that. But he's made, he had made 11 from 6, and now 11 from 7. So, and I guess when you've got a small target like that, you can do that. Really, you can chase if you feel like it.
He's 11 off 7, strike rate of 157. You've got the one day format starting next week. Is he trying to? I don't know if he plays one day.
I would have thought so. I doubt if he's in the 100. We'll have a look at Nick and see if he tells us, but he's not looking at us. Abbas bowls, similar kind of place and pace. Brown is playing everything off the front foot at the moment, even though I think that was slightly short of a length. And there's a bit of bounce there, certainly. The bounce is uneven in this. It's been a, what shall we say? Let's be kind and say it's been a very difficult surface for the batters.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, and like as I said, I had a quick look at it before play today, and it just looks really, really dry. Really dry. Not much grass on it at all, to be honest with you.
Here's Abbas again, and he comes fast medium
Catch.
and off the edge, but bounced short of the 2-minute slip. They've only got 2 minutes slip. The problem is, in a way, that they've got to take wickets, but they can't have everybody crowding because they've such a small total to defend. It's another odd stat that I worked out last night. This is the 11th game that Hampshire have played this season, the county championship, home and away. In the first 10, we have averaged per match 251 overs. Now that's less than 3 full days of cricket. Even though we're playing 4-day cricket, that's less than three full days of cricket. And this one isn't going to help that average at all.
No, is that Abbott begins his second over? Sorry, Abbott. And Wesley is on strike. Yeah, it's. I was going to start the day today talking about day 3 being similar to golf in its moving day, but the game is so far ahead of that now. It's really, Hampshire needed someone to step up this morning, and unfortunately with the quick wickets which fell, it's kind of in Essex hands now, and they've got 2 really key batsmen at the crease now, Wesley being leading run scorer for them this season.
Yeah.
As Abbott comes in now to Wesley. Big run up and hits the pitch nice and hard, flicked off his legs and caught. What great catch at square leg. Well, if you're going to win the game today, you need some luck, and I think that's flicked off his legs there, Wesley. Straight to the right hands of square leg, which I think that's Felix Organ.
I was going to say Felix Organ, I think
it's a
so.
fantastic catch.
He's now engulfed by his teammates who are absolutely delighted. But it was a fantastic catch, and yes, it was Organ, It's a day for miracles, but it's also completely bonkers first 50 minutes where we've seen 6 wickets go down. I'm not sure, I can't off the top of my head work out how many runs, but it's not many for sure. 6 wickets in 50 minutes.
Well, this is my first commentary stint. I did day 1 and obviously day 3 today, and Kevin reassures me that this isn't what normally happens in county. No. Obviously I watch a lot of county championship and a lot of cricket around, but this is I don't know whether you've just come back from, obviously we've had a bit of weather the last few weeks. We've got the white ball format next week. This is a huge game in the county championship with Essex and Hampshire 2nd and 3rd. But I feel like I've jinxed Wesley there with saying he'll lead a run score for Essex and he gets 0 today. So
right. Well, we won't invite you back then. But just a quick flick through. As far as I can see, Hampshire have never this season at home failed to get to 200 in an innings before this game. But the opposition have on more than one occasion. 56 by Northants, 185 by Notts and 177 by Notts. So there have been low scores here, but Hampshire have always got they haven't made lots of huge scores, but they've always got to at least 200, except in this game. And
Walter now is the new batsman, left-hander. He's on strike to Abbott as Abbott comes in. Oh, and it's similar to Wesley. It's sort of nipped into him, hit him in the upper groin area. Fortunately for him, it wasn't bullseye this time, and hits the padding there on the inside thigh pad. Offers to pick the ball up, and Abbott trudges back to his top of his run-up. But certainly doing a bit out there.
Yeah, I guess he has got an inside thigh pad. I remember when I first started wearing a thigh pad in the 70s in club cricket, never thought of wearing one on the inside, and being hit on the top of the thigh was always so painful. Yeah, it was just horrid. Still is, even when you are wearing the thigh pads, it's still sore. Yeah. As Abbott now into Walter's shoulders and leaves, the nips back. The fielders behind square were interested there. I think they were just trying to create a bit of theatre, I think, getting Walter's head early on. But no, I think maybe looking to make amends. Walter obviously is a naught in the first innings. Came down the track third ball to Kyle Abbott. Tried to flick him through deep mid-wicket, but found the outside edge to Ben Brown. So I can't see him coming down the track today. They have 2 slips, a point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, a catching mid-wicket, square leg and a fine leg. As Abbott comes in now to Walter again. Hits a and it's hit him in a similar place there. Inside thigh guard as well. I'm sure he is wearing one there. I think so, yeah. And as I say, even in the nets, when you do get hit in the thigh pad, in the thigh pad area, it still hurts. It stings a bit. So he's just rubbing it there. Won't want to show the Hampshire fields people any sign of weakness. Well, Nick Gubbins was the outstanding batter for Hampshire in the second innings, and he was left-handed. So whether that will help Walter, I don't know. He doesn't have to bat for that long to win the game. No, he doesn't. As Abbott comes in to complete his over now to Walter. Similar length, and he plays a miss. Oh, there's definitely hope. The Hampshire faithful who are in today, which is a bit of I guess a dark day, cold, bit of wind. Obviously there was a lot of rain around yesterday. They are in supporting their local side, so there's a chance. A few more wickets maybe. Essex now 16 for 2. Abbott great figures of 2 for 2. I wonder how long Hampshire will leave it to get the fan favourite John Turner into bowl. Yeah, I think they might have to go with him. Sometimes they have a feeling that Holland can do stuff on pitches like this, but I think Turner might get it. Abbas is in. He bowls. He's also bowling round the wicket, and left-handers at both ends for Essex, of course. Brown plays and misses outside the off stump, comes down the pitch and has a prod. Often just a psychological prod, to be honest with you, just to reassure himself. But it's very gloomy. I'm surprised that the lights are not on.
Yeah.
You know, I thought earlier that they weren't on because they take 20 minutes to warm up, but they just seem not to have asked for them.
Do you think it was this dark at Old Trafford last week when the umpires were asking England to bowl spinners?
Yeah, yes. I didn't see it, and it's just pushing out square on the offside. In another existence, I play music, and sadly on last Saturday I was with my band playing 2 gigs at the Hayling Island. You know Hayling Island?
Yes, Hayling Island, yeah.
I was at the Hayling Island Festival, but the second of them was an outdoor gig. And you remember what last Saturday was like, and in fact in the end we didn't do it because it was just too horrendous. So, but I guess it was much like Old Trafford. That's why I missed Old Trafford on Saturday afternoon. So Abbas bowls, and well, that just has lift off a length, and Brown doesn't push forward so much there, but he just stands up reasonably tall, plays it perfectly well down just to the side of him, and it's picked up.
That's a better length to Brown, though, isn't it? A bit more shorter. Not going to allow him to just climb into it like the previous over where he scored two boundaries with those cover drives. It's definitely the length that you'd be looking to bowl. But if you were a bowler and you were asked for conditions, these would be the conditions that you want to bowl in. So
absolutely, they'd like to bowl on this every match, wouldn't they? The batters wouldn't like it much, but they would. It's Abbas again. Bowls, and that's 2-leg side, and might have come off the pad. Keeper runs and picks it up and just looking at the umpire. Yes, leg by. Yeah. So just 2-leg sided, but just the one run. So 17 for 2 and 66 to win.
Must be due a wicket soon.
Sorry,
must be due a wicket soon. I think there's been a few balls here now.
I was just thinking, if they don't race ahead, what happens at 1 o'clock if there's 4 to win? Are the umpires empowered to stay on? I think they probably are. Actually, play and miss, just nipped away that one outside the off stump. Yeah,
I think if you. I don't know if it's less than 10, 15 maybe. I know with the 9th wicket you extend the play by 20 minutes, so it makes sense. Although I did see in the county championship earlier this season that I think it was at Surrey where the umpires called for lunch and I think Surrey only needed one run. So it's just
it is the sort of thing that infuriates spectators.
It does.
There's a good pal of the commentary team called Jo, and she's often on the ground. I don't know if she is, but if she is, she'll know the answer. That's outside the off stump. Except that Brown doesn't gather it cleanly, and there's a race by 2 of the fielders to prevent it going for 4. So it's just the 1 by 18 for 2. Maiden over, but a leg by and a by in it, which doesn't help Hampshire really, because they can't allow runs. Yeah, if Jo's on the ground, she will tweet us at some point. So the regulations say that because she always knows.
I guess you can see already so far this morning that Abbas is just a bit skiddier. So there was a edge early on from Brown that didn't quite carry to James Vince, and there you see shoulders and arm leave by Brown that didn't quite carry to Ben Brown, and it just skidded through and a bit untidy from the Hampshire wicketkeeper. But Walter, who's on noughts, is facing Abbott as he comes in now to release the ball. Big drive, and it goes straight into mid-wicket, who I think that's Tom Prest down there, isn't it? Yeah,
I think that's Tom Prest, and I haven't worked out
who's off then.
It's another thing Jo will tell us in a minute if she's here. Somebody else might as well, but I think it's Tom Prest. Now, who's not there? Nick Govins, maybe?
I think he was off yesterday for a bit as well.
It's one of those positions that Nick Govins would field. Dawson is at mid-off.
And Abbott's charging in now. Looks running in a bit quicker now. Found the outside half of the bat there from Walter. It's picked up, shining, Yes, apologies if you can hear a bit of wind. We're quite high up here in the gantry. Like I said, it's gloomy conditions. For some reason, the floodlights aren't on. Energy saving, I guess.
Could be, yeah.
Or forgot the key. Sorry, Essex. We forgot the key to put them on.
With the Forest Green Rovers of the county championship.
Essex 18 for 2, just 66 behind. Abbott into big drive, and that will be 4 runs there from Walter. Good way to get off the mark. Big drive. He's 6'8", I believe. Big stride all along the floor to the point boundary. He'll be really relieved there. Off the pair for the day, and I think he'll be pretty happy with how he's played this game. Obviously, apart from the bat in the first innings, but he came in for the injured Shane Snater and took the big wicket of James Vince both innings. So really, really key role for the Essex side. And I was speaking to the guys on day one, and he hasn't had much of a chance this year with the ball. So maybe with that injury, he'll get more of an opportunity. As Abbott in again to Walter, off his hips there, down to Abbas for 1, and that brings Nick Brown back onto strike. So just 60 required now.
If it is Tom Press, I had the impression that the second 11 had a 50 over game today. They played one yesterday against Glamorgan at Winchester College, which they lost on Duckworth Lewis because the rain came, and but Tom Press played in that one. I got the feeling that some of the second 11 guys in particular were there. It was a warm-up for next week, really, because there isn't actually an official second 11 50 over anymore.
Okay. Abbott into Nick Brown. Outside edge again. That's the 3rd time that Brown has edged to Abbott from this top end. Great fielding there by Fuller. Over into Ben Brown, then they come back for 2. I think there's going to be a couple of changes now. It's Kevin James just replacing David, and I'm going to step out. It's just the 1 ball left. This Abbott over. Good time to get this wicket here. Nick Brown looks in good touch. 13 off 14. They only need someone to get sort of 20, 30 to get their side over the line here. So as Abbott comes in to complete the over into Nick Brown, similar ball there, heavy length just outside off, and Nick Brown plays that down to backward point for no run. I'm going to jump out now, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Anthony Clapham. He'll be back a little later. It might be near the end of the game, the way this is going on at the moment. Yes, the wicket has always been a little tricky, but the atmospheric conditions are kind of adding to that. That's why we've had already 6 wickets fall in just over an hour's worth of play. Hampshire losing their last 4 wickets for 9. Alistair Cook and Tom Wesley, the 2 that have already fallen for Essex, who need another 58. Nick Gledhill.
Yeah, and certainly at the moment on target, but add 2 wickets, you never know, as Abbas bowls and Walter plays defensively from the crease into the offside. I was thinking whether I was suddenly going to see Dan Lawrence having made the record journey down from the Oval to come out at number 4, but no one presumes the Essex batting lineup will remain as is. But 25 for 2 with a further 58 required, and it's one of those situations where you add another 40 runs for Hampshire, and or you add another 2 wickets now, and it's interesting, but you feel as though Essex should get there with a few wickets in hand. Yeah. It's not easy, variable bounce, and certainly still plenty of movement. And Abbas goes round the wicket and bowls, and that's outside the off stump and left alone by one of the 2 left-handers out there at the moment in Paul Walter. And Nick Brown, it would be nice for him if he could just be there to the close and make a useful 40-odd, because he has been a bit short of runs in relation to some of the others, but nothing like a useful 40 in testing conditions can be worth 100 elsewhere.
That's for sure. Got a real beauty of a delivery in the first innings when he was bowled by Abbas.
Yeah, and he'll feel occasionally he's missed out on some of the better surfaces with some early dismissals. There's Abbas with a short mid-wicket and 2 slips bowls. That's just played defensively. Nice stroke right behind the line of the ball from Walter, just back down the pitch. Well, it's still very overcast. No floodlights, as we've mentioned. A few more in them at the start. Looking to applaud anything that Hampshire do well. But you feel as though lingering hopes of Hampshire winning the title 50 years on from their last success are probably going to be extinguished by this defeat today, should it happen. It's going to be too much to ask, you would have thought, in September. As Ageas Bowl, that's outside the off stump and left alone by Walter, who's been such a key difference, if you like, that not in the side at the start of the season, but Essex, this will be their 5th consecutive win if they get there. And really, the season almost started in June. They won at Lord's in the opening game, but they had a real struggle in May, particularly away from home. Lost at Edgbaston and got a draw at Trent Bridge, but weren't obvious contenders at that point. Let's put it that way. And it's been a different story since then as Ageas Bowl, and that's just nicely played by Walter, just getting into line, playing defensively up into the onside. Paul Walter, who can, I think, in the Championship more or less bat anywhere in the top 6. He could open if required, and who knows, he may yet end up as an opener for Essex in the post-Cook era. We shall wait and see. 25 for 2, just the 9 runs added by Hampshire this morning. 10 wickets in the match for Jamie Porter. A couple of early successes for Hampshire in this pursuit of 83. This is again nicely played by Walter. Looked good in this over, just playing in a defensive manner, just getting to the pitch of the ball and playing it defensively up into the offside. Yeah, we had Cook was caught behind off Abbott for 4, and then Abbott had Wesley well caught by Organ at square leg for a duck. Wesley faced 4 balls. He was hit very nastily by one of them. He must have wished he hadn't gone out there, Kevin.
I know. I mean, the way the wickets have been falling, I mean, just this morning, but generally in this match, for somebody to clip the ball the way he did and be caught in the outfield is almost a surprise.
Yeah.
Good catch low down by Organ.
Great form this year, missed out today.
Yeah. So here we go, Abbott round the wicket, forward is Brown, just stabs that out into the covers where Gubbins fields. Joe, who's tweeted at Solent Sports, if they only need 4 at 1 o'clock today, this is referring to a game earlier this season where Hampshire only needed 4 to win and they went off a tee. Would you believe, Nick?
Yes.
Joe, and they did. They went off, and then about 2 balls after tee, they got the 4 runs we needed. It was absolutely incredible. The crowd were jeering or whatever. If they only need 4 at 1 o'clock today, it'll be 1:10, of course. They'll play on as lunches at 1:10, that's right. But in reality, umpires can allow an extra half an hour at the break if the result is possible. So it could be 20 to 2, maybe. That's pushed out into the covers. At the moment, 58 runs are needed. That will take a little while, you'd think. But yeah, that'll be interesting because we are, just over an hour away from the scheduled luncheon break. It's at 1:10 because of the overs we lost last night.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that's applied. But certainly we'll go till 1:10, assuming the game is still going on. But it might be finished before then. But depends, I guess, on how well Hampshire bowl. It'll be difficult to score if they bowl well.
Brown on 13, facing Abbott at once more, and he drives, and that's a good stop by Gubbins. That looks going for 4, but Gubbins in there at cover.
Restart at Taunton is at 12:10. Basically, they've had the same weather that we've had, but I suspect Taunton has not been able to dry quite as quickly as here. But it's a restart at 12:10 with Somerset starting their second innings 198 behind after they. Well, interestingly, they chose to bat, I think, on the first day of that game. A lot of pitchers have been sweating under cover, and Surrey, in perhaps nicer batting conditions, got that big lead.
3 dot balls in the over so far. Here's Abbott round the wicket again to Brown. It's quite wide. Brown leaves alone.
But yeah, in many ways, the most eye-catching score of the morning is what's going on at Edgbaston, because if Middlesex can win this game, it's going to make life, throw things open really at the bottom of the table, and they've had a very, very good morning in that one against Warwickshire, who are 226 for 9, leading by 87. And Ethan Bamber's got 4 for 66. He got wickets in the first innings as well. So Middlesex will fancy their chances. It won't be straightforward, no. But what a great position they're in now.
There's Abbott round the wicket to Brown once more and bowls. Brown gets one that keeps a little low, but he's playing with a straight bat up to mid-on. They've lost 5 wickets this morning then, Warwickshire.
Yeah.
Only lost 2 yesterday, didn't they?
That's right. It's been a real turnaround. He got 4 in the first innings. He got 4 in this innings, and I'm sure he got a hatful in the first innings as well. Yeah, he got 5 for 20 in the first, so he could be on for a 10-wicket haul, which of course Jamie Porter's got in this match. That was a game in which Warwickshire had to bat in very, very difficult conditions on the opening day. We rolled for 60, and it looks like they're not going to fully recover from that.
Abbott coming in. Another maiden on the cards. If there's no runs off this, then there isn't, because it's left alone outside the off stump. So Abbott has completed 4 overs, 2 of them maidens. He has 2 for 9, and Essex. And just lost the score there for the moment. But anyway, the partnership so far, 8 between Brown and Cook, 8 between Brown and Wesley, and this one is the highest partnership of the innings so far between Brown and Walter. It's worth 9, and Essex are 25 for 2.
Yep, and we'll feel comfortably placed in the pursuit of 83 to win. Test match, of course, underway. England sent in, made a very good start, but 66 for 2. They've just lost both openers, Corley for 22 and Duckett for 41. So it's a good comeback from Australia there after a difficult start. 2 slips, a short mid-wicket, and 5 others saving 1 as Abbas bowls, and that's another flowing cover drive. We've seen a few of these, and both for left-handers. Again, that's gone straight to the fielder at cover, but it's been a bit of a feature, particularly off the bowling of Abbas. When he's over-pitched, we had a couple of 4s from Brown, which looked pretty priceless actually early on, with not many other scoring shots, and Walter trying to play the same shot, but hitting it straight out to cover, and there's no run. But certainly that's looked a good scoring opportunity against Mohamed Abbas.
Seem to be getting too much out of this pitch at the moment, Abbas.
No, not just at the moment, as he comes in and bowls, and so that is a nice delivery which just shapes away from the left-hander. Walter just keeps his bat inside the line, but it'll be interesting to see when Turner bowls. And you would have thought that it won't be too soon, his introduction. It won't be too soon delayed, really, because there's 58 runs to play with. I guess Vince wants to see if there's going to be that magic bowler who'll find it just gets the right line and length for these conditions. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of impact he has.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a few people felt that John Turner coming on in the 30-odd over in the first innings was a little too late. Don't want to leave him too late here.
25 for 2, 58 needed. That was just back of a length and driven without timing, going for the cover drive again off the back foot, but no timing there, and it went straight out into the covers, and there is no run. So England 68 for 2, having been sent in actually by Australia, sent England in probably on the basis that they knew what Stokes wanted to do, so thought, well, we'll bowl then. But typically, of course, at the Oval, it's you expect it to be a good pitch, but obviously the overheads will be favouring the seamers, as indeed probably over most of the country. 25 for 2, heavily overcast here, no real brightness at all. As Abbas bowls, that's a nice piece of bowling. Just when we were saying he wasn't getting much out of the surface, he's got one there that's an attempt to sort of flick the ball away into the onside, and it's just, I think, in the end gone past the outside edge and gone through, but it's a lovely piece of bowling. I'll see a replay of that. Did it go between bat and
big
pad?
Leg break. No, it's big leg break. That.
Brilliant piece of bowling.
2 balls out of the last 3 have nipped away from the left-hander. That was big. Just as I was saying, he wasn't getting too much.
Yeah, went through to Brown at quite a rate of knots, that. And very nice piece of bowling. Just changed his length maybe, a little bit back of a length, and it caused more problems. He bowls again, bowls a similar ball actually, just a little bit back of a length than what he was bowling earlier. And again, it's a push forward from Walter, and having looked very convincing against Abbas in the previous over, he's been beaten a couple of times in a row there, but he is still there from the Essex perspective, and they're just sort of hanging in there at the moment, realising that the problem would be if they lost 2 wickets now, and so taking a conservative approach and looking to try and withstand these Hampshire seamers. Will get easier, of course, if they can get another 15 or 20 runs. It might be the last 30 odd come quite quickly, but at the moment Hampshire will still get 2 wickets quickly. They've just still got an outside chance. Here's Mohamed Abbas again, bowls. That one's starting too wide, but it does swing prodigiously. It's another one that moves quite appreciably off the pitch, starting wider off stump and going wider, but it was interesting there as he changed his length. he was more effective there, Mohamed Abbas, in that particular over. 5 overs, none for 13 for him, 25 for 2, which it has been for a while actually. Essex, who took the last 4 Hampshire wickets for the addition of just 9 this morning, leaving themselves just 83 to get. They've got 25 of them for the loss of Cook and Wesley.
Yes, he's most threatening over to date. Mohamed Abbas, just looking over towards the Shane Warne stand. It looks like there's a hospitality suite being occupied at the top level there. I hope they see enough cricket to justify the day. Certainly plenty of action already this morning with 6 wickets at Fulham. And here is John Turner from the pavilion end. I haven't waited too long to get him into the action, although it's been a fine spell from Kyle Abbott. I'm just wondering if Kyle Abbott might switch ends actually very shortly. I'm sure Abbas has earned another over or 2 after that last one, but Hampshire will want to keep them reasonably fresh, just keep operating. And I think probably these 3 will be doing the majority of the bowling. 58 needed by Essex. Turner right arm over. Got a wicket with his first ball in the first innings. Had Critchley LBW. He's round the wicket to the left-hander Brown. It's outside the off stumper. That's a good pace. First up, he'll be round the wicket, I should think, for the whole time while these 2 left-handers are out in the middle.
Of course, we've got a very long gap before the next round of championship matches at the start of September, and it's rather underlined by the fact that Nottinghamshire and Kent are playing each other in a rain-affected match at the moment. Their next championship game will also be against each other on the 10th of September. So it's a long old wait. Even more so for those 2 sides.
Here's Turner again. Bounds in, and Brown just pushes out to the gap square on the offside. They're going to take singles at every opportunity. They do there. 26 for 2.
And should Middlesex win that game against Warwickshire, those 2 Nottinghamshire-Kent games could become rather important, because it will rather throw the relegation picture wide open. But in contrast, you would think if Essex win here, and obviously the Surrey-Somerset game just about to resume, but we could be looking potentially at only 2 really viable winners of the championship.
That's for sure. As Turner bowls, he's playing inside the line. Is Paul Walter at that one. But one thing that John Turner is earning a reputation of doing is bowling quite a nice, tight, narrow line. You'll have to make these batters play virtually every ball.
Yes, it was almost a bit of a shock, really, when I think it was Matt Critchley at the first ball. He was over for 6 in that T20 semi-final, because I think the thing that the Hampshire supporters were banking on was the fact that Ellis and Turner were going to be very difficult to score off.
Yeah. Worthy winners, Essex, as that's played late into the ground, just wide of gully. It's going down towards third. In comes Fuller. Another single. Every run valuable here as Essex move on to 27 for 2, need another 56.
And I mentioned to you off air, though, in the end, Essex supporters just had the same sort of slightly empty feeling at the end of the day that the Surrey and Hampshire fans did, but it was just a little bit delayed. Because, of course, there can only be one winner in the day, and undeniably the strongest side in the Southern Group eventually prevailed in the final.
As grudgingly as we accept they won it, they were the best. He's playing inside the line again, Brown, but again it's a good delivery. Score remains on 27 for 2. Brown 14. Walter has 6. He's not following the ball at all, is Nick Brown.
Interesting. Joe Root bowled by Hazelwood for 5, 73 for 3. So when you number 3, Moeen Ali's got a sort of bat like a number 3 now, because there are a lot of rides on him. But it's a pretty good start for Australia now, 73 for 3, and that after a pretty good opening stand actually between Crawley and Duckett. They put on 62.
Last ball of Turner's over, comes in again round the wicket to Brown. Brown off the back foot, pushes that into the vacant cover point area. I think they'll come back for 2. Fuller throws at the bowler's end, and oh my word, it's deflected off Turner's hand, and that's going for more runs, I think. 1 anyway. And he'll have to hurry here a little bit, Paul Walter, because he'd run past the bowler's end stumps by quite a way. Nick Brown was almost 2/3 of the way down, waiting for Walter to turn and run through for the 3rd, which he does. 30 for 2, another 53 needed.
No play before lunch, Northants and Lancashire. That game may, with too much more time lost, struggle to get a result, because they've lost quite a lot of time there already. I suppose the one thing that Hampshire can't afford is extra runs with overthrows in this sort of very tight situation. But these 2 eking out a partnership, as I say, Nick Brown, if he could just bat through to the end here, it might obviously be just something for him to take into those September games. We don't know how much we're going to see of him in August, of course, in the 50 overs. So he might make the odd appearance, but I think it would do him a lot of good to see off this very difficult challenge and bat through if he can, as Abbas stays on and bowls a looping delivery, which, like a few in the last over, is just back of the previous length that he was bowling. Not close enough to the off stump to force the shot from Brown, but he's certainly proving more effective. Just allowing the ball to bounce, and if he can just pitch one in the right place around about middle and off, that does that, or even middle, that really forces the shot, and he might be in a chance of a success. But at the moment it's eluding him. 30 for 2.
I thought he might have stayed over the wicket because it was a good over against Walter, the previous one.
Around the wicket to that last ball. He's going to do a same again here to Brown on 17, and Brown this time will get right into line and just come forward and play defensively up into the offside. So I think the phrase is Stygian gloom, isn't it? That you hear sometimes. So the trees are pretty still away beyond the pavilion here at the Ageas Bowl, and actually a little bit more activity and sort of flags fluttering, but it's not really classic July temperatures, as it hasn't really been for the whole month, of course.
Feels like the end of September. This feels like the last game.
It does feel like September, you're right. It's got that feel to it. 30 for 2, 83 the target. As Abbas bowls, and that's on the pads, and attempt to flick the ball away down the leg side, just straying in line there. Brown will feel he missed out. In the end, it was pretty well taken by his namesake, minus a letter in Ben Brown, just going down the leg side. But 30 for 2, and Brown 17 and Walter 6.
Abbas has been okay, isn't he? Last over very good, but I don't know, you need him to be right on the money here in these tight situations.
BBC Essex, BBC Radio Solent, and we're online via the BBC Sport website and app with Nick Gledhill and Kevin James at the moment here at the Ageas Bowl as Abbas bowls. And that's cut away off the back foot for 4. Good shot. It was too short, that, and Brown just seized on it. And he's played some good strokes through the offside of Mohamed Abbas in this innings. 2 cover drives in quick succession. That was a short ball, and that might just represent the end of Abbas for the time being. That was dragged down and cut away for 4. And the one thing that Hampshire can't afford is to concede boundaries. Brown goes to a very useful 21 out of 34 for 2.
Yeah. Also on the live picture feed as well, which is going back to the Hampshire Cricket website, and free to download app. And I guess those pictures going back to the Essex Cricket website as well.
As Abbas bowls and just with an angled bat. This is run down towards backward point by Nick Brown. He's playing very nicely at the moment. Difficult batting conditions, and I say a 40 odd, a 40, 45, particularly if he can remain unbeaten, it could be worth an awful lot more on other pitches. And he has been a bit short of runs, so something valuable here would be coming just not quite just at the right time, in the sense of another championship match around the corner, but I say it will give him something to take into those later games in September. 3 of them for Essex, 2 at home, and then 1 at Northampton, just as of course was the case last year, right at the end. Northampton. Abbas bowls, and that's all. Hit the pad, and there's an appeal for LBW. Abbas is confident. He was just pushing half forward at that. I wonder if it hit the back pad, but that was a pretty good shout from Mohamed Abbas. It'd be nice to see the replay of that one. I think we're going to get a chance to see it.
Probably outside the line, even if he didn't get a bat on it.
Otherwise, it had quite a lot going for it. That played and missed, and Abbas was pretty confident. That would have been a good time for Hampshire to take a wicket, but it wasn't to be. And the ask is below 50, 49, 34 for 2, Brown 21 and Walter 6.
Abbott has the best figure so far, 2 for 9 off the 4 overs. Nick Gledhill will stay on, and then from 5 Live it'll be Kevin Howes.
Yeah, just looking at Nick Brown's recent stats, not quite. He's been playing a bit of second team cricket with all the one-day stuff that's been going on. So this first delivery of the new Turner over is just run down into the gully off the back foot by Walter, and there's no run. 34 for 2. Yeah, he got 119 against Lancashire seconds at Chester in mid-June, but generally speaking, his championship returns have been pretty quiet. No less so when it's at Blackpool, where of course Essex won that game, but he made a pair, so it wasn't the best outing for him. But he's playing a good hand here. Here's Turner going around the wicket, and that's a good one, just shaping back into the left-handed Walter. Goes through to Brown. So some nearly things here for Hampshire, Kevin, but the 2 wickets in the column not enough for them, I think, at this stage.
It made it interesting for a little while. I think I was on with you before. Just saying, I didn't really feel that narrative that you were talking about, like the game at Somerset and everything was quite the same, but those 2 wickets started having me wondering.
Here's Turner Bowl. That's a pull shot, and it's pretty well executed. That it's gone into a big gap through mid wicket, and that will go for 4. There's nobody out there, and just dragging that one down. Turner. We had the short ball from Abbas in the previous over that was put away there. Paul Walter seized on that and has put it away through mid wicket for 4. The 2 left-handers doing the job at the moment for Essex. 38 for 2 with 45 required, and any time there's anything just a bit over pitched or just a bit short, they're putting it away.
Because every ball initially in those first few overs looked to be hell really to face, and then you had that little turn away and that really good low catch on the leg side as well. I'm thinking, oh, momentum here, but that real risk and jeopardy seems, famous last words here, to have disappeared a little at the moment.
38 for 2. Turner going around the wicket, bowls and coming forward here. Walter is getting to the pitch of that and playing it up towards mid-off, and there is no run. So we've had 6 wickets fall this morning, but none just recently. Just to let you know, Warwickshire 232 all out. So the chase there for Middlesex is a little bit more than this one. It's 94 they're going to need, Middlesex, of what would be an absolutely critical win from their point of view.
Well, bear in mind yesterday that the story of that game changed because you had 2 batters who were not out 50 at one stage of 150 balls each.
Turner bowls, and that's just rapping into the pad, but too high for any appeal, as Walter was looking to try and play it away through mid-wicket.
There seems to be only one way to score, and that is to take your time. They have a lot of time left in the game, but we know that when you're chasing, even if it is a low score, and you may have got a whole day to go afterwards, there's something that just, if, as we spoke about here, just take and lose a few wickets at the top, it makes you look unsettled. Essex looked unsettled a little. I'm not so sure they do now.
Turner bowls, and yeah, pretty settled at the moment as Walter just comes forward and just plays into the offside. And Walter, who has played as an opener for Essex before, did so in the COVID year, the abbreviated COVID Bob Willis Trophy programme, and it could be a role that he could be suited to in the post-Cook era. Whether they'll want 2 openers of a similar type, and these 2 actually at the moment at the crease, remains to be seen, or whether they want someone more expansive like a Feroz Kushi, but that is something that Essex will have to look at in times to come. But 38 for 2, Essex requiring 45, Brown 21 and Walter 10.
Yeah, no time to expand on the issue of the post-Cook era, but there clearly will be a period now for Essex. We talked about how good they've been, how I reckon pretty consistent in fairness.
Yes.
Over the years since 2017, but they've just got to make sure that they don't let this group of players all age together. They've got to make sure they do bring in to try and keep that going. That is such a difficult task to get that right, to make those calls at the right time. But right now we are talking about the championship of this season, and Essex in a very strong position here in this game and in the title race. They're 38 for 2, need another just 45 runs to win. They've got 2 slips going down. Brown is facing on 21, and Abbott comes around the wicket. Coming now to bowl, high in the air, parried away in the end out there at extra cover. That would have been an amazing piece of fielding and catch, it really would. Liam Dawson. Yeah,
that was very firmly struck, and he's just got across to it. Not a very particularly good view on the replay, but certainly got hands to it.
That really was flying there. Well, again, hands on the heads of several players out there for Hampshire. Brown's on 21, scored 38 for 2, still 45 needed. As again, Abbott comes around the wicket, looking here to make a difference, pushed into the offside, has to defend that one. A little bit of a reminder to Brown and to Walter watching on here that they've just got to be a little bit careful, because this ball doesn't really come onto the bat that quickly, and if you are going to try and power it away, you've got to be fully committed. You've got to get that ball away, and that was a really difficult chance. But gosh, it would have been those sort of moments. We've seen some good 2 good catches already this morning, haven't we? But that really would have been top draw. But as it is, still it's 2 wickets down, and it's Walter facing on 10, and that is pushed into the offside for no run. So Walter is on 10, Brown 22. So it's 39 for 2, 44 required. The board now turning over. So that's the situation on a day which is overcast. And as I say, the ground staff done a terrific job We're getting things going here this morning. It's not the case all around the country. In Scarborough, which actually avoided the rain until very late on yesterday, they've not made a start today. Manchester have got problems there. They've not made a start, delayed start in their game, Lancashire versus Northants. But here we're playing, and it's Walter on 10 facing and drives inside it very nearly. Oh, Nick, we're back in jeopardy territory again. We're back not looking settled out there, and this is being created by one of the world-class bowlers. You know, he may have withdrawn himself some time now from international cricket, but he clearly, when he's on fire, Abbott. And the thing about this man, actually, thinking about it, he does take wickets at times when you'd least expect, in the sense that, you know, for the big moments, you know, he makes big impacts on games. Could yet be his game, his day here, but he's got 2 for 10 so far from his 4.4 overs, and he's changed ends. He's coming in now from the hotel end, and big stride in from the big man Walter into the offside for no run.
Yeah, he's given nothing away, has he, Abbott? Typical Kyle Abbott performance, 2 for 10, one ball short of the end of the fifth.
That's what they needed to do, because they were just freeing up the arms, which almost, in the end, I suppose, almost led to that wicket being taken there, with, you know, a bit more expansive. They've got to, I guess, just focus their minds again. Just got to be a bit more concentrated, especially when you're facing this man. Kyle Abbott back to his mark. Again, he turns. It's a long run up. He's going to come around the wicket. He comes in now to bowl. 2 slips going down, and Walter drives and can't get it past. Along the ground, Dawson moving swiftly to his left-hand side. So that's another really good over. But they need so much more from a Hampshire point of view, and from Kyle Abbott's point of view. Very nearly got a wicket. It would have been an extraordinary grab and take had it been taken, but they really do need things like that to go their way here, the home side. Losing the last 4 wickets for only 9 runs this morning, 131 all out. Essex at 39 for 2. Only need another 44 for victory. Anthony Clapham is back alongside me.
And I hope I bring some wickets along with me as well.
Well, from a Hampshire perspective.
From a Hampshire perspective, of course, and maybe for the for those who have come to watch, make it a bit more interesting. As John Turner comes in, I've been really impressed with him this game, as Nick Brown plays out to the outside edge down to third man, where Fletcher Middleton, who I mistakenly thought that was Tom Prest earlier, but I think Tom Prest is with the second 11 today. They have a one-day game today, ahead of obviously the one-day format starting next Tuesday.
The Metro Bank One-Day Cup. Mustn't get our banks confused. It's no longer the previous one we can't mention anymore. It's the Metro Bank.
There's John Turner now into the impressive Walter. Big shot outside the off stump. Big cut shot there down to deep point. Good field for Walter. It's looked really good, actually. Looks like he's batting on a different surface today, Walter. He's faced 36 balls for his 11. Brown 23 off his 33 balls faced. That brings Essex to 41 for 2, needing 42, so halfway. As John Turner comes in to Nick Brown now, hits the crease nice and hard, just short of the length, finds the inside edge, and they scamper through for a single down to mid-on.
100% agree with you about Turner. I noticed him in the One-Day Cup a couple of seasons ago now, maybe it was only last year, you know, when you get to my age older.
Yeah,
just wrong.
Yeah.
Really impressed in this game. It's a big challenge for him at his age here to try and make it count in the way that Kyle Abbott is making it count, but it does look a different sort of game at either end at the moment, doesn't it?
It does. As John Turner comes in to Walter, plays the pull shot again. As you can tell, the pitch is slightly too slow there, or slightly slower than it used to, and it just crawls out to deep square leg where Felix Organ picks up. But yeah, slightly early on that one, Walter. Yeah, I think for me, I've obviously seen a lot of John Turner bowling in the T20 Blast this year. First time I've seen him in the flesh, really impressed. And I think he is a fan's favourite. You could see on day one where, you know, the crowd really got excited when he came on and got a wicket first ball, and that, you know, that's the sort of thing that you want as a fan, to bring that a bit of X factor really.
Big future.
He has, yeah. And John Turner comes in now to Nick Brown again. Bowls a real heavy length, and as you said earlier, it does seem to be happening from that top end with the pavilion end. Slightly taller bowlers, so Kyle Abbott, John Turner, where they hit the pitch nice and hard. I read earlier Tom Wesley saying that the pitch seems to be seaming a bit more So maybe that's why the taller bowlers are getting more out of the wicket. Mohammad Abbas is a bit more of a skiddy bowler, swing bowler. Hasn't really found his radar so far this innings, unfortunately. As John Turner comes in now to complete his over. Tunic ran that shoulder and leg. A bit more again. Nice bounce. How long do you think would you, in this situation, would you gamble? I'm not sure if you'd say gambling with Liam Dawson potentially. I know it's perfect seaming conditions, but do you give the spinner a chance? Dry wicket?
No.
Straight answer. Right, fine.
Yeah.
I think if I was captain, I would have a look for sure.
I mean, you're asking for some major errors from Brown and Walter here, all the time left in the game.
I would need a right-handed on, especially with Liam Dawson being a left-arm spinner, bringing the ball away from the right-hander.
I'm taking nothing away from Liam Dawson.
Yeah.
But I just think you've so little to work with, and so much time for Essex.
Yeah.
As well. There's not that sort of time pressure at all, is there? But this man is creating pressure. His name is Carl Abbott, and he's coming into Walter now, and he goes forward to that one. And I mean, the big stride of Walter actually only needs half of it. He probably would have been the full stride for me, but it's only half a stride for him, just forward and defensively into the offside.
Yeah, he's a good foot taller than me.
And unless it plays into the sort of mind, and this is not being funny here now, but you were talking about wanting to get on with it a little bit. Unless it plays into the ego, and the idea that from Essex that they could get on with it, but that would be an error. It'd be a major mistake, and I don't think they'd make that. Abbott coming in from the hotel end and around the wicket into Walter, who's on 12 at the moment, and he's happy to leave that one. She's got a little bit more width to it. I mean, if you're going to leave a ball, you're always a little bit worried what it's going to do. You're just going to look at that shape of the ball and what angle it's coming in at you, but he felt fairly confident on the width there to allow that through to the keeper. No run. 43 for 2 it remains, 40 off the target.
I mean, I'm kind of condescending myself here. I would prefer to be facing Liam Dawson here for sure, rather than Kyle Abbott and John Turner, especially a bit chilly out there. You need to wear a sweater, I think, if you're batting, and it is perfect conditions for seam bowling. However, you've got 40 remaining. You may as well gamble, I think.
Walter on 12. Abbott bowls again forward and gets enough bat on that, but not for any run behind square. Well, you're right to ask the question, and that's exactly what the captain Vince is going to have to do all the time, thinking, how can I make something miraculous happen here? And it's not beyond the fact that Essex might go all wobbly in their mind if Dawson comes on. They could actually settle into this attack, and that's what you're saying, isn't it? Offer a bit of variation, something else for them to think about. But right now I think they've got enough on their plate with facing Abbott. Around the wicket, in and bowls. It's in the air, out of well out of the reach, and the end of the man diving to his right hand side on the leg side. They go through for one. Everything seemed to go in a little bit of slow motion. The ball looped a little, so there's not a lot of pace coming off the bat, is there?
No.
So I understand, but I think that would have been, if we take a look at this again here, Anthony, I think I've been mistaken, that in the end would have been quite some way out of his grasp and reach, I think. But everything just slowed down.
Yeah, that was way over Fletcher Middleton's head there, but like you say, almost just popped off the bat, just over his head. Bit of a camera show there for his dive, but a chance.
39 to win, 44 for 2. Brown is now on strike. Walters moved to 13. Abbott again causing problems. Full defended back up to Abbott. Look, we think we know what's going to happen here, but right now this is truly intriguing, entertaining cricket. I mean, when Abbott is bowling like this, it's just top box office, isn't it?
It is,
it really is. Well, whatever the circumstance. And, he's taken 2. How many more can he take here to ask questions of Essex? He's the one that is posing that threat at the moment. But Essex only need 39 more. 8 wickets standing. Around the wicket, in again. Oh, outside edge! Past second slip. And that's well past them in actual fact. It's been, third, fourth slip out there. It's going to go to the boundary. It's going to be 4 runs. And Abbott there, frustration for him because that's got an edge. But it's 4 runs. That's what it says on the board. It's 35 to win.
It does.
48 for 2. And Brown's on 28 and Walter on 13, but 6 overs gone, 2 maidens, 2 for 15, and it's one of those periods that actually I can't wait. With all due respect to young Turner, I can't wait to see. Do you know, I wish we could change Essex wouldn't. I wish we could change the laws of the game a little and have Abbott at both ends at the moment, because you just couldn't look away, could you?
No,
Just
no.
couldn't look away.
Look, I think in the you could see in the Essex when they bowled, they rotate Jamie Porter and Sam Cook extremely well. So you would have Jamie Porter. It looks like a bowling change here, actually.
It does. Oh, so it's Abbas going to come on from the other end. He had to go at this end. He's going to come on at pavilion end now.
Well, he's an important bowler for Hampshire. Didn't quite work from the hotel end. So let's have a look. It seems to be most of the wickets from that top end where Jamie Porter took his 2 fifers. A superb spell of bowling for him on day one and yesterday, and obviously finishing today. So, but yeah, as I was saying, Jamie Porter would bowl 3 or 4 overs up top. Sam Cook would bowl from the bottom end. He would come off, be replaced, and then Jamie Porter would then replace Sam Cook after that. So it's giving the batsman no let off there as Kevin jumps up, and we just wait for David to come back, who's now put his coat on. So just a sign of the weather here down at the Ageas Bowl in Southampton. A bit chilly today, isn't it?
Old folks get chilly, you know.
I'm wearing a coat as well. So, but yeah, Abbas is back on strike, back on bowling here. So.
You were talking about Liam Dawson and mentioned the left-handers, and I just wonder about taking a chance on Felix Organ, who bowls off breaks.
Catch. Oh, he's had 2 or 3 LBW shouts this morning. He hasn't been too happy with the umpires.
He was giving it a charge though, wasn't he? He was well down there.
Yeah, but as I said, he's quite skiddy, Abbas. Yeah, that's outside the line as well. And I certainly wouldn't bring Dawson on against the left-handers. Maybe Felix Organ, he's taken.
That's what I think.
Yeah, why not?
If you're going to take, and you might as well take a chance with 35 to win. So it's occasionally Felix Organ will run through the batters, and quite often he won't, but he does sometimes. He's got a very good strike rate.
As Abbas is into water, and that's just played down to, and Abbas will pick that up. I guess the only way you would bring Felix on would be from the hotel end, but then that is a short boundary out there.
They're going to bowl Holland. He's
yeah, he bowled well in the first innings. Got the key wicket of Wesley before tea. Adjudged LBW. I'm going to say adjudged because it did look slightly outside the line, but the umpire gave it, and it was out in the scoreboard as Abbas now comes into Walter, who's looked very good this morning, short of the length, and he just nicks a single to cover. He picks it up, and I think if it was a bit dry, he might have been able to stabilise himself a bit more there and have a shot at the stumps. But there is obviously has been a loss of rain over the last 12 hours, so couldn't quite get himself stable, and that brings the score on to 49 for 2 Essex, requiring just a 34. And Hampshire really need a miracle now. Unfortunately, if you're listening, Hampshire fans, really need a miracle here. Is Abbas now comes into Nick Brown, and just outside off, and he's had Josh short. Yeah. He's found the outside edge to Nick Brown there. It's just fallen short of Ian Holland there at second slip, and he is a good 2 or 3 steps ahead of James Vince there. So it's given every chance. Yeah, that's dropped a good foot short, but it's been a real frustrating morning for Mohammed Abbas. He's had 3 LBWs turned down. He's had a couple of edges off Nick Brown, fall short to Vince, and now Ian Holland.
And off Abbott, there were the 2 bigger hits that almost went to hand, and it's just not quite happening for Hampshire. I mean, a miracle was what they needed from the start, but it's just not quite happened.
There's Abbas now back into Nick Brown. Played a miss again. He's certainly making things happen from the pavilion end. The pavilion end seems to be the way to, or the place to bowl here today. A bit more bounce. That's carried through nicely. There must be a bit more frustration in there from Abbas. He seems to put that one through a bit quicker. And Nick Brown goes down and has a look at the pitch. Day 3 pitch, but as I said earlier, looking at it this morning, it's extremely dry. And Nick Brown just makes his guard on middle again. Quick shuffle of his gloves. Resets himself. And Abbas at the top of his mark, coming in to complete his over now. We're looking this, try and find the outside edge here of Nick Brown and bowls. Hits him on the pad, that looks close, and he's given! At last, Mohammed Abbas lets out a huge scream, which I'm sure you could hear on the mics here. That's his 4th LBW shout this morning, and finally he gets his wicket, and that is Nick Brown if I'm honest, I don't know whether it's too little, too late, but it's a big wicket there. 28 runs Nick Brown made this morning, and God, did you hear that roar from Mohammed Abbas?
Yeah, he did look very pleased, didn't he?
But, that's a sign of frustration if I've ever heard one.
I do think he deserves a wicket. I suspect that it is indeed too little, too late. But I tell you what, the only thing is, if it's not too little, too late, the next hour, 45 minutes, hour is going to be scintillating.
It could be, in that, if we can get a couple more. Well, we've got 15. Oh no, so lunch will be 1:10 for those who are tuning in now. So we've got good 25 minutes left. So Hampshire will be looking to take a couple more wickets. If we can get Essex down, 5 down at lunch, they'll be happier. I'm not going to say they'll be feeling that they're in with a chance, but they'll certainly be happier.
Mind you, Joe did send a reply to that question that I sent.
Okay,
out.
yeah.
Apparently they can play for half an hour longer. So
how long? Yeah, I wonder what's
theoretically could go. We could get almost another hour.
So I assume they think if they can get the runs, so if they're needing 20, I think in the last half an hour, 20, 30 maybe. Well, yeah, maybe it makes sense to continue. Yeah. The guys, obviously, the players had the most of the evening session yesterday off due to the rain that we had from about 4 o'clock. So it's not like they'll be needing a break, I don't think.
But that's the first wicket to fall in about 55 minutes, I think. I seem to remember I was on air when the last one came.
Yeah, I think we were a good luck charms, I think, weren't we?
Yeah, that's right. So they're not falling too quickly now. But and I said to you off air just now that what tends to happen is when you're down to about a dozen needed, it suddenly comes in a rush. Unless you're 7 or 8 down, in which case that's different. But okay, it's Kyle Abbott from our hotel end bowling towards the Rod Brownsgrove Pavilion.
Ooh.
And
the shape?
Just falling in a good shape on the ball, but Walter plays it off his legs up to mid-on, falling over slightly there, although he's a tall man, so...
Yeah, his head was falling towards sort of the umpire then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was slightly, I think it just could have caught him out there, but it didn't. And, it didn't sound as if he timed it quite correctly, but it's a rather hard sound off the bat. So anyway, he's 14 not out, and Abbott is in around the wicket. And much the same, except he doesn't hit it at all there, and it hits the pad. It's clearly going down leg side.
They've clearly highlighted that as maybe as a weakness to Walter there. His head falls over, so Kyle Abbott's trying to bring the ball into him by the looks of things.
Yeah, it was a bit too leg side-ish, wasn't it? But I mean, that's an interesting thing in terms of the field, because he's got a 5-4 leg side field, hasn't he? So he might. Am I right in that? No, I'm not.
4 on the leg side. So you got 5.
4, 5-4.
Catching mid wicket's the one I think maybe in the game here.
I know why I said that, as he bowls again, and it nudges down towards third man, and there isn't one. And the reason I said that is that I
goes
didn't
for 4
spot,
actually. God, that's
didn't spot the man out on the deep point boundary. So it's a 5-4 offside field, and he's now had to run round and retrieve the ball, but it's gone for 4. So Essex are up to 50, and suddenly the task.
You only need a few more of those, I think, and that'll be that. Kyle Abbott is kicking the sawdust at the end of his run-up. Does not look a happy man. Does not. He's been obviously moved to the pavilion, from the pavilion end onto the hotel end, which has had much more of his luck, hasn't he?
Yeah, here he comes. Bowls, and that's just pushed to short mid wicket, and there's no run. And I think that's. Well, I don't think that's Fletcher Middleton. I think that's who we got confused about with Tom Prest. I don't think Tom Prest ever was on the field.
he wasn't there.
No, he may well be at Winchester. But I think the second 11 playing a second game. As I said, it's a bit of a warm up for some of them, getting ready for the 50 over competition next week. People like Scott Curry. Jack Campbell, perhaps. I'm not sure if Campbell played yesterday. He didn't play second 11 last week, whether he's injured. Anyway, Abbott's in, bowls, and gives it. Walter gives it a bit of a charge there, but it doesn't hit the ball cleanly, and it just spins off down towards gully. Ian Holland was certainly warming up, but that was just before Mo Abbas struck. So whether that now means that James Vincent's going to persevere with his front two bowlers.
I think you have to. I think Ian Holland may be a bit chilly down there in that second slip, not acclimatised.
Yeah.
Obviously a bit different to Australia, this, but...
Yeah. So the target for Essex now is 30. And that's quite nicely driven, but straight to Liam Dawson at mid-off. Liam not fielding in the in his usual slip position. One of the few Hampshire fielders in their history to have a record of better than one catch per match, but he's fielding in the defensive positions today. End of the over, 53 for 3, 30 to win. Critchley yet to score. Walter 18 not out.
Well, he hasn't had a catch this game, so hopefully, I think he dropped one at extra cover, which was a tough chance, I think, earlier. And for those just Hampshire fans, we have Toby Albert, who's on a short-term loan deal this week at Kent. He opened the batting for Kent this morning, batted for an hour and a half and made 37 off 93. So
actually last night.
Was it last night?
Yeah.
Was it? So tricky time to bat. Yeah, that's exactly what the Hampshire youngster wanted to do, go out and get some time in the middle. As Abbas comes in now to Critchley, facing first ball. Confident stride into the ball and knocks it back into the leg side to mid-on.
I'm pretty sure Albert is there for just one game. Well, he might go back in September, but I'm pretty sure he's back here for the 50 overs, which starts next week.
Yeah, he actually plays in the league, same league as myself actually. He plays for a team called Finchampstead, who are our local rivals.
Sure, yeah.
I play for Wokingham, play in the home counties Premier League.
Right.
The first team do. And he played at the weekend against High Wycombe. Got 20-30, I think. As Abbas comes in now to Critchley. Bowls. Short of the length, has a little play at it. We're certainly interested in that. Abbas is definitely finding more out this pitch from the pavilion end. A bit more bounce, which is bringing the outside edge into play.
It'll be interesting to see whether people like Toby Albert, Scott Curry, one or two others get a bit of a run in September, because I know some Hampshire fans think I'm unduly pessimistic, but I don't think they're going to win the championship, particularly after today, and they're certainly not going to be relegated, which means in September.
So Abbas into Critchley, slightly wide of the crease, trying to bring the LBW and stumps into play there, bring the ball into the right-handed Critchley, who in the first inning was himself and Michael Pepper had a great partnership. Really, really key. If you put that partnership into context now, you know, Critchley 29, Pepper 33. You could almost say that's match winning, really. Absolutely, Jamie Porter's been the main man with the ball and the difference, but that was steady the ship for Essex in the first innings. As Abbas comes in once again to Matt Critchley, again wide of the stumps, and it's popped up. Oh, and it's got a shot. It's definitely doing something. Didn't quite carry there. It's just popped up and dropped down to. I mean, it was nowhere near the slips, really, was it? Maybe where a sort of backward silly point would stand. Something I noticed earlier, actually, David, I don't know if you have this stat to you. How many different openers have Hampshire had this year in the county championship? You would have had Gubbins, Fletcher Middleton's given it a go. You've got Ian Holland.
Not Gubbins.
No, not Gubbins. Has he not had a go?
No. Felix Organ, early days.
Yeah.
Ian Holland, Fletcher Middleton all the way through.
Bass again into Critchley, confidently drives down to mid-off, where Kyle Abbott picks up, throws it back to Dawson, who gives the ball a shine. So you got Organ, Holland.
Organ, Holland, Weatherly,
Weatherly
have been the three around Fletcher Middleton, who's opened in every game. Yeah, I mean, you could say Gubbins has been opening the batting because he's often been in the first 5 overs, but it's been those guys really, and. I mean, the thing now is there's such a gap that you're not sure that anybody's really in possession at the moment. No,
as Abbas comes into Critchley there, gets him to play and drops it down into in front of point and gets a single to get off the mark. Critchley will be relieved with that. It's a tidy over from Abbas, where just one come from it, and he created a couple of chances as well, which is he seemed a lot more potent from that end for sure, rather than the hotel end. So. It looks like Kyle Abbott's going to continue here, David.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I was saying earlier that, you know, Toby Albert could well come back, play in the 50 overs and then get a run in September. There's always that question, isn't there? One of the big challenges for county teams now with 2 divisions, I say now, you know, because I look back an awful long time, in the days before 2 divisions, towards the end of the season, if you were in 8th place or 9th place, you'd often bring 2 or 3 youngsters in and have a look at them for 2 or 3 matches, because it wouldn't make much difference or anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Hampshire might still want to press for prize money, but if they're not terribly worried about that, Kyle Abbott comes in and bowls, and it's fairly full. It's just pushed out backward square. Point comes around, fields it, no run. If they're not really anxious about that, then they really might take the chance to see whether Toby Albert, Tom Press, Scott Curry, not necessarily all of them, but those kinds of players could have 3 championship matches. They could have a run of 3 championship matches in September.
And just say to them, look, you guys are going to play for the next 3,
Yeah.
no pressure.
Yeah.
Let them play with a bit of freedom.
Yeah, and
Ideal, yeah.
and see how they do. Yeah, but we shall see. Kyle Abbott's in. He bowls again quite nicely forward.
Essex has been fantastic this year. Just looking at some of the stats, they've got 3 bowlers now who are in the 40 wickets. Sam Cook, I think, is on 40 now. Simon Harmer on 44, and Jamie Porter's the leading wicket taker in the championship with 47. So, and on top of that, they got 3 guys in the top 10 and the runs, including Dan Lawrence, which would make it 4. But obviously, he's not with us today. He's running the drinks for England.
Yeah. I think that's perhaps the crucial difference. Hampshire have got a pretty decent attack, but Essex have outbatted them this season. Abbott bowls again, fairly full, driven up to mid-off, no run. And I mean, Hampshire finished 4th 2 years ago, even though they were 1 ball away from winning the county championship, and then 3rd last year when they really should have finished 2nd, except for the horrible finale the last couple of games. But they finished 3rd, so 4th, 3rd. They're probably going to finish 3rd or 4th again this season, I would think, after. I'm assuming that they're not going to win this game. 29 to win now, so it's not going quickly. It's driven up to Dawson at mid-on. There's no run. So, but then they are an ageing side, and the next year or 2 they're going to need to make some changes, and it will be interesting to see what those changes will be.
Yeah, obviously John Turner has been I guess he's had that opportunity, shown what he can do in this game.
Yeah.
On the bowling side, but I think where we're shorter runs in this game for sure. So maybe give the likes of Tom Prest a run.
Yeah. Here's Abbott in bowls.
Oh, good trick. Bowled him.
Completely done him. And it looked like he played exactly the same kind of confident, sensible forward defensive shot, but absolutely threw him.
And that is an absolute jaffer, and that, David, is why he is still bowling.
Yeah.
And I think he will continue to bowl as well. He needs a big stint here for Hampshire.
Critchley bowled by Abbott for 1, so 29 needed forward. It would be great if it was an exciting finish. I mean, it would be even better if my prediction that we're going to lose is incorrect. Of course, that one of those days I'd be delighted to be proved wrong. But 7.5 overs by Abbott, 2 maidens, 3 for 19.
Yeah, I think if we had to, if Essex needed 60, 70 runs here, it would be a really, really interesting contest.
It would.
But we're out, and Essex have been brilliant in getting themselves into this position. So I'm sure Jamie Porter will be hoping that he doesn't get his pads on, because he's done a fantastic job with the ball. He's done his job, and he will hope that the batters will do theirs. And let's remember, Essex are virtually 5 down, because although Shane Snater did come out to bat, he's virtually on 1 leg with the unfortunate accident that he had when he was running into bowl his first over and popped his calf. So
I begin to wonder now, whether I'm not sure whether the captains get. They probably don't get much of a say in this these days, but I'm beginning to wonder now whether Hampshire would be quite happy to take lunch at 1:10, Abbas and Abbott to have a rest for 40 minutes, and come back.
Yeah,
and
you're
have
right.
one last
yeah,
go.
I think
you know.
definitely James Vince would be wanting that, but it's down to the umpires. If they feel that the Essex batsmen can get the score in an additional 30 minutes, then they will leave them out there.
Yeah. But what time is it now? 12:58. Yeah. So there's about 12 minutes to go. So unless something extraordinary happens, Essex are not going to win by the fixed lunch time of 1:10. That's for sure. We shall see. Anyway, it is Pepper to face his first ball from Kyle Abbott.
How
that was
missed?
That was a pretty lackadaisical shot, to say the least. He sort of waved his bat from off the leg.
That's gone like an off break.
Yeah. And I suppose you might give him the credit of saying that in the end, he took his bat away, but I don't think he did really. I just think it completely did him.
Well, Abbott's looking into the skies, smacks his hands into his thighs as David is leaving us, and Kevin James will be joining. That was, I thought as soon as that hit the deck and it's nipped back, I thought I was just about to see the bails fly off the stumps, but somehow that has evaded both the batsman and the stumps, and Ben Brown did really well to tidy up behind the stumps. What are your thoughts in the last sort of 20 minutes?
It's never over until it's over, Anthony.
Let's hope. Let's hope for everybody here in the ground who's made the journey today, as Abbas comes into Walter, who's looked fantastic, pitches it up, and Walter, who's 6'8", gets his right leg down the track and just drops that into the offside.
Did you see the reaction that I got behind me when I made that statement?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I don't think Kevin's on board with you there, but
no. Dave Allen.
So if I was a batsman watching now, I'd be thinking 29. Still 29's a lot of runs.
It is, isn't it?
As Abbas comes into Walter, outside off stump, and he just drops it down to point, and they get off strike, which might not be a bad thing here for Hampshire. That brings the new batsman Michael Pepper on strike, who was fantastic in the first innings. Put on a really good partnership, as I mentioned earlier, with Critchley. And Abbas has definitely got a lot more movement from the pavilion end. Is that usually the case here, Kevin?
Well, if I'm honest, it probably is. But I think we've seen in this game especially, just ones that just tend to bounce and go through more. Probably a little bit more often from that far end, coming towards us.
Yeah, he certainly had a few more to lift and miss the outside edge, which I think from the hotel end, I feel like the only dismissals he was really in the chance of was LBW and bowled. So this brings the outside edge in place as Abbas comes in once again to Michael Pepper. It's just downside. No, that is an absolute dolly. I'm sorry, but that is an absolute dolly at square leg there. And Pepper has clipped one off his legs straight to, I think that's Fuller.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And that's into his chest, where you would unfortunately catch that every warm-up, you're in the garden just playing with your children, just throwing the ball back and forth. You don't even think about that, but in a pressurised situation like this, that's disappointing there as Abbas comes in once again. Comes down the track this time, Pepper. There's definitely things happening. Only 28 needed.
You've got to take those, you're right. You've got to take those. That is not difficult at all. We saw a great catch, Felix Organ, to get rid of Tom Westy, who clipped that away in the same area, caught that low down to his right, both hands. That's got to be taken 19 times out of 20, more than that.
He's a tall man, James Fuller there, so it's in his chest area. Dear.
I saw James Vince as well at first slip, just turn around with his hands on his head as well. That would have been a big one.
And Abbas comes in. Can he create another chance here? He does find the outside edge of the bat, but they knock it into a vacant point where they have taken a single. They've obviously got Felix Organ out at the deep point, which kind of tries to get the batsman to drive it slightly straighter. But yeah, that's you think they are now 56 for 5. You think, look at the catches that Simon Harmer took in the slips. Right-handed, left-handed diving. Yep. That really was. I think James Fuller will be maybe thinking about his game. And Abbas comes into Walter, left-handed Walter, and that finds the outside edge again, and Abbas kicks the turf in frustration. and James Fuller picks the ball up and throws it in to Ben Brown as they take 2 runs, and that brings the score to 58. And yeah, Abbas is a bit disappointed there, I think, Kevin. His Walters looked good though today, but that was a big wicket for Mark Pepper. He looked the best in the first innings.
25 needed. And it was never enough, was it really? An 82-run lead, they needed more, Hampshire. They know that. 120, 130 was even tight, but everything has to work, doesn't it, when you're in the field and you are defending such a low total, even in good conditions like this. And there's a few gone in the air, isn't there?
There has.
Difficult catch, Dawson mid-off as well. Here's Abbott over the wicket, bowls, and that's an edge. But it's wide of second slip. It's probably through more of a gully area. They'll pick up 2 as that goes down to third. Throw comes in at the bowler's end.
So again, James Fuller down there.
Yeah.
Ball seems to be following him, as it always does when you have a drop catch. So I've got a feel for him over there because he didn't bowl too well in this tour. And he had 2 overs first innings. Obviously, played a rash shot first dig as well. But yeah, I can feel for him here. So looking up to the skies.
Yeah, you'll know that that was a big miss. 60 for 4 then, 23 needed. We are about 6 minutes away from lunch. That's another shot which is just pushed into that gap where Fuller comes in off the boundary. So it's another single. And every run now, has always been in this match, let alone in this innings, is important.
I'm going to leave.
22. Yep.
Nick from Essex will be joining.
Thank you very much. Anthony Clapham from the Hampshire Disability Team and the England Disability Team just making way, and here's Nick Gledhill from BBC Essex to take us through till lunch, although you just never know. It might get extended, the lunch break, depending on how many runs are needed, because at the moment it's 22, Nick, as Abbott comes in and he's bowling to the left-handed Walter, who's doing a very good job for his side, drives, misses, trying to drive on the up there, goes past the inside edge, through to Ben Brown.
Yep, and Brown and Walter for me, they've been the 2 key men in this, well, not really chase, but trying to survive to get 83. Brown's innings I thought was worth a lot more than 28, and Paul Walter has just basically got a very calm head in the situation. He can adapt to the situation of the game, and his 21 also looks very important from 54 balls.
Yeah, that Brown and Walter partnership, they batted together for almost an hour, which is an awful long time in these conditions, with such a small total to chase down, as he cuts away on the offside, and it's well stopped at extra cover, although it's palmed away to Dawson at mid-off, and they'll pick up a single, and I don't think that was in the air, although it may just have bounced off the turf. Good stop there from Nick Gubbins. So 21 needed, 62 for 4, and Walter moves on to 22, and he's been out there for 55 balls. And Pepper, who's dropped on 0 in the previous over, is on 4, and just 21 are needed. Wow, it's been an exciting morning. We've had 8 wickets fall in the just over 2 hours and 6 minutes that we've had so far. And it's been an all-action morning, tense morning. But Essex, I always thought when they picked up those last 4 quick wickets of Hampshire's, we should win this, but it's never going to be easy. Plays and misses outside the off stump. Ball just kicked a bit off the length. Ball goes past the outside edge there, through to Brown. 62 for 4 the score remains. Well, if we are to break for lunch, which I think we will, Nick, with 21 needed, that's 21 doesn't sound a lot, but I think in the context of what we've seen this morning, and even indeed in the game, that's still quite a sizable chunk of play. So I think we'll have one more over after this, and we will contemplate proceedings over lunch, and then we'll reconvene, of course, 10 minutes later than normal, because lunch is 10 minutes later than normal because of the play we lost last night. Here's Abbott, runs away from us and bowls once more. Pepper comes down the wicket, gets wrapped on the pad. Shout from Ben Brown and James Vince, which looked convincing, but really, I don't think any of us really believed that there was any chance of that being answered in the affirmative. So there we go then. Essex required 21 runs. They are 62 for 4.
Yes, not been straightforward, but it was never likely to be that. But this is ultimately boiling down to what happened this morning, really. The last 4 wickets going for the cost of 9 runs. And if Hampshire had added that 40 or 50, then I think there would have been a sort of a different feel to things, and that there would have been that extra little bit of pressure. But as it is, it's sort of worked out as perhaps one would have anticipated, that yes, there would be pressure, there's some decent bowling, but what Brown and Walter particularly were able to do is just to put away the occasional bad ball that came along, and there weren't any of those in the first 20 minutes or so this morning, that's for sure, as Porter and Cook wrapped up the wickets. Got a staggered slip cordon now as Ageas bowls, and that's a bit of a, well, that's actually the wildest shot that Walter has played. He's actually come down the pitch and tried to flick that one away through mid wickets, as if he wants to get this done without having a lunch at a normal time. And I think there Pepper's, well, arguably Walter's the senior partner, but maybe he's just come down the pitch and said perhaps maybe not the best idea. He was trying to hit it through mid wicket with foot movement, but he played and missed, and could easily have edged that to one of the 3 slips.
Yeah, well, as with a lot of players these days, they come down the wicket to Ageas quite a bit, but I think Ben Brown might have to think about coming up to the wicket, but he's not as yet. Well,
it's a staggered cordon, as this is a drive and a nice stroke from Walter, but he's only going to get 1 up to mid-off, and that was well played. And he goes to 23. Pepper has 4, 63 for 4. And yeah, just another 20 for 5 consecutive wins, including, of course, 3 at home and 1 at Blackpool, where Essex continued their excellent record away against Lancashire, which they've had in recent seasons.
It's an amazing run, isn't it, at this stage of the season?
Having not really threatened it in May at all. They won the opening game, but so you weren't necessarily marking Essex down as contenders at the end of May. It's been very different since then. As Ageas bowls, and that's a fierce-looking cut shot of the back foot, and nicely played by Pepper. That was there for the shot there, and he saw there was room, backed away, and he's crashed it away off the back foot, just square through the offside for valuable boundary. That just takes it down to 16. I wonder if that might make a difference to what's going to happen at the end of this over. But occasionally, Ageas has just got his length wrong, and that one, Ageas allowed Pepper room to play the shot without too much risk, and he put it away well to the left of cover for 4.
I just think in these conditions and on this wicket, I think Hampshire will be a little bit disappointed. Ageas in his 10th over has only taken 1 wicket. Yeah,
69 for 4, just the 14 needed now, and that's a delivery that gets a lot of lift, and Pepper has nothing to do with it, and just takes the bat out of harm's way as it goes through to Brown. But yeah, it's been a good little partnership between these two. Perhaps, if you like, the key partnership in the innings was between Brown and Walter, because that really calmed things down after the loss of the 2 early wickets. And even though Brown getting out for 28 and Critchley going cheaply, Essex have not really been placed under sort of sustained pressure through concern of loss of 2 or 3 wickets quickly. As here's Pepper just coming down the pitch and just checking his shot, trying to work it away into the onside, and then just playing it up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Actually, I did just look at the board. I didn't realise there was no balls in this over as well. So it's just 14 needed.
Yeah, it must have been a no ball. Must have missed that, because it was winning 16 otherwise. So it's 14 now.
Every danger, we're going to have an extended period here.
Yeah. So 2 slips of cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket. Deep square leg. And a point on the boundary just coming over the rope now, as Pepper will come forward and play defensively back down the pitch. So with that no ball, turned into a useful over for Essex, just the 14 runs required. It was in fact just having a look, I think it was the 4th ball of the over was the no ball. So let's just prolong this over. 14 to win, 69 for 4. Pepper has 8 and Walter a valuable 23. Pepper on strike, and we'll just come forward, bat and pad together, and play up towards mid-wicket, and that is the end of the over.
What are we doing?
Let's see what happens here.
Oh, we're playing on.
Looks like we are going to carry on, because lunch would have been at 10 past 1, and I make it now about 12 minutes past 1. So it looks like we are going to continue.
Why on earth did you hit a boundary and bowl a no ball?
Yes, because that's made a bit of a difference. It's taken the 3rd off the target, hasn't it? So,
all right, so we're carrying on. 14 needed. And it's going to be John Turner to take over from Kyle Abbott. Great stuff from him today, 3 for 23 from 9. He's done his part. You just feel you could have done a little bit more from Abbas, although to be fair to him, he did have Pepper dropped on naught, and it was not a difficult catch at square leg from James Fuller, so you could say that maybe he's just about played his part as well, but another couple of balls that have gone in the air where another day it could have just landed to a fielder, but it's not to be at the moment as John Turner comes in round the wicket, bowls to Walter, and Walter flicks that away past a diving Fletcher Middleton at mid-wicket. There is a fielder at deep, that is Fuller. And 13 are needed with Essex now 70 for 4.
Yeah, and of course we've got this gap coming up now, and it's going to be obviously slightly frustrating for Essex in terms of being involved in the championship race, but not able to obviously play again in this competition until they meet Middlesex in September.
Break
The
up
next
the
two
momentum.
games both at home.
Don't need the momentum breaking.
Yeah,
do you?
it is slightly awkward in that respect.
Yeah. Here's Turner over the wicket to Pepper, drives through mid-wicket again past the diving Middleton. Was on the other side of the pitch this time. It won't quite go all the way because Organ is on the boundary, but it is 2 more, and Essex now closing in on victory. They need another 11, 72 for 4.
It does look as though Surrey will have actually extended their lead at the top by the time we get to the end of this round of games, because they got 3 batting points at Taunton. Somerset are 46 for 4, trailing by 152. So to be honest, with a reasonable forecast now, there's only surely one winner in that game. So Surrey are likely to end up on 183 points.
Turner bowls a foolish delivery, hits it into the ground as Pepper back to the bowler.
And Essex, Essex will be on 166. So it's going to rely, certainly from an Essex point of view, on them winning all 3 and looking for Surrey certainly to slip up at least once, and they'll be perhaps hoping that that Warwickshire can do them a favour when they come to the Oval in September.
Here comes Turner again. Bowls, and that's driven out on the leg side for a single. 10 needed, 73 for 4.
And who knows, of course, although Hampshire, one would have thought that's the end of their pursuit of the championship title with this defeat, but they could yet play a part in determining the winners, because when Essex play Northampton at last round of games, Surrey will be down here at the Ageas Bowl, so that will be an interesting one.
Looking forward to that. Surrey last game. Why wouldn't you? He's turned around the wicket to the left-hander Walter. Walter drives on the up, but only as far as Abbott at mid-off. 73 for 4. Extended morning session on day 3 here. Twice it's been extended. 1:10 because of overs lost yesterday, and because of a near conclusion in the game. And extra long. So it's 2.25 hours this session so far. Walter done a great job here. 24 from 59 deliveries. The left-hander as Turner bowls short. It's pulled away, but there is a fielder out there deep. That's Fuller at deep backward square leg. Single though, and it's now down to single figures that Essex need. They need 9. 74 for 4.
Yep, and well, we're just coming up to lunch on the second day. Well, lunch actually would normally have been taken by now, but it's effectively been 2 days of playing time, hasn't it? Really, this match very short in terms of the actual playing time we've seen, but always likely to be given the nature of the pitch. And yeah, certainly Kyle Abbott's been the pick from the Hampshire perspective, but I just think the wind was taken out of the Hampshire sails by that disastrous first half out, and there would have been a slightly different psychology to the game if they had added 40 or 50. Here's Abbas with 3 slips and a staggered cordon, bowling to Walter. He just flicks that down to fine leg for a single and moves along to 26, I think that's right, 26 to him. Pepper on 11. Pepper's had a pretty good match with the bat, actually. It's obviously not a particularly high scoring game for anybody, but he's done pretty well. And really any score of note is almost worth double on a pitch such as this. And he's taken his opportunity and would like to be there at the end, I imagine. 8 to win, 75 for 4. This is hit uppishly, but safe and away for 4. A couple of bounces to the backward square leg boundary. Short ball from Abbas, and Pepper decided he could have a go at that. 2 men on the boundary. Managed to find a safe spot, bounce between them. On another day, could have holed out. Wasn't the cleanest of hits, but he's got 4 and he's taken off half of the 8-run target.
I can smell the lunch now. It's waiting for us.
Here's Abbas again. So this is played back down the pitch, and there's no run. Doubtless the players will be having lunch as well, so we'll be doing our normal post-match interviews, but doubtless they might be delayed a little bit. 79 for 4 for 5 consecutive wins for Essex. And as I say, it didn't look likely at the end of May. And there's a few issues with the balance of the side, and I think rightly looking to play 4 seamers, but not getting enough runs, particularly at numbers 6 and 8. And it's all come together in the championship since the start of June, as this one sees Pepper trying to back away and hit the winning runs with a bit of a ramp shot, and in the end it goes safely by past the stumps. But it would have been, he's got into a bit one-day mode here, Michael Pepper. He's gone to 15, but I think with those 4 runs needed, that's understandable, and it's going to be a very good win for Essex on a ground certainly where they don't have a lot of success. Do you remember them actually winning here just after they became champions in 2017? A curious game where they were a long way behind on first innings. This is hit well by Pepper and away out towards deep backward point, but just going to be a single. That'll leave 3 to win, and it will bring the strike back to Paul Walter on 26. So it does look as though Surrey are going to, assuming that the weather doesn't deteriorate there, they're in a very strong position. I'll go to 183 and Essex on 166. So it does look, particularly if Warwickshire can't beat Lancashire, as though it is going to be between those 2. And I think Hampshire's chances have just about gone. As here Walter plays that one in the air and over mid-off. He was looking to play a lofted shot down the ground to win the game. In the end, he's just managed to clear mid-off, and he's got 2 of the runs that were required. But it wasn't quite the glorious ending he was hoping for. But it was. The thing is, there have been some attacking shots in this over as they've been a little bit more freed up, but they have both managed to avoid the field, and that's what Essex would have wanted. So 82 for 4, just the 1 to win. Pepper 16 and Walter 28.
Scores level.
Yeah, and disappointment for Hampshire, particularly after that fantastic win at Trent Bridge, where half an hour from the end of the first day, you sort of only really see a Nottinghamshire win, and then Ian Holland with ball and bat changed that round, but they've been brought back down to earth here. A slip and a gully, as this is hit uppishly at safe and away for 4 by Pepper, away to the cover boundary, and Essex make it 5 wins in a row. This glorious run that started at the beginning of June. Well, thank goodness Essex will think for championship matches in midsummer. It may not feel like midsummer here, but they have really capitalised on this midsummer sequence of games, with Pepper finishing with 20 not out, Walter 28 to add to Brown's 28 earlier. Those are the key contributions, and in the end the critical phase of the game today was the fact that Porter and Cook rolled Hampshire for the addition of just 9 runs, and Hampshire, with just that target of 83 to defend, would never really, despite the early loss of Wesley and Cook, able to put Essex under any sustained pressure.
Yeah, tricky wicket for both sides. Overcast conditions this morning, but Essex came out of the blocks very quickly, didn't they, with that lower part of the second innings blown away. And really, yeah, I mean, 120, we were talking about 120 maybe being a bit of a game, but certainly 82-run lead was never going to be enough. So Essex on a roll. And yeah, they are probably the only genuine contenders now, Nick, for the championship title.
Yeah,
alongside Surrey.
Yes, I mean, if Warwickshire had managed to find a way, I can't see Middlesex 41 for 1, needing another 53. So it looks like they're going to lose that match. And as we were saying earlier, it looks now to be shaping into a 2-horse race. But actually, relegation will be quite interesting with that Middlesex win. But that's for another day. But Middlesex, the next opponents for Essex, it's only going to give them something to play for in early September at Chelmsford.
Thank you very much to Nick Gledhill. He's had an easy couple of days, that's for sure. Thank you, Anthony Clapham. Debut for him a couple of days ago on commentary this morning. Thank you, Kevin Howes. Yes, he's looking for a mention. He's got it. He's happy. And also to Dave Allen. Thank you for listening and watching over the 2 and a bit days that we've been on air. Well done to Essex. And very worthy winners indeed. We'll see you again soon.